unfortunately, it's so far away I can't see what I look like. So.
I know. I was just like going, if you keep it from afar, maybe I look better. That might be good.
We welcome you inside the Mohegan Sun Arena for Connecticut Sun Media Day 2017. I'm Bob Husler along with my broadcast partner, Debbie Fisk, and it is a Connecticut Sun first, the first time that we ever live stream Media Day. What is Media Day? Well, quite simply, it is an annual event here at the Mohegan Sun Arena where the electronic media, the print reporters who cover the Connecticut Sun, they come out and they develop all their storylines by interviewing all the Connecticut Sun players, the head coach, the assistant coaches, and the front office executives, and they build their stories in anticipation of the start of what in this case will be the 15th anniversary season for the Connecticut Sun. So what are we going to do today? Every player that is in the preseason camp for the Connecticut Sun, and 15 of the 18 on the preseason roster are in attendance. You're going to hear from every one of them over the next 2 hours. You're also going to hear from the head coach of the Connecticut Sun, Curt Miller, his assistants, Steve Smith and Nikki Collin. You're going to hear for the first time from the new vice president of the Connecticut Sun, Amber Cox. But we begin the proceedings by talking with the person who makes it all go here at the Mohegan Sun, the president, the founding father of the Connecticut Sun. His name is Mitchell Lettuce. And Mitchell, it is certainly a pleasure to be joined by you for the start of the 15th anniversary season of the Sun. You must feel like a proud father who essentially gave birth to this franchise, and now you've watched it mature, and here we are live streaming to a worldwide audience. We've come a long way, huh?
It's kind of amazing. I mean, I get a lot of the credit, but obviously bringing the team here was obviously a team effort. And honestly, you know, like 15 years and maybe 3 months ago, I stood in the back of that corner of that arena with, we just had a press conference, Val Ackerman and Mark Brown, and I was sitting there, three of us, me and Paul Munich and Chris Yanko, no coach, no nothing, the Orlando Miracle coming, CBA, no CBA,
Yeah.
So we couldn't actually sign any players, and it was just amazing. It was, we referred to it as the movie The Candidate, you know, when he finally went to the end and they sit in the back and they go, okay, now what are we going to do? That was kind of where we were, and, you know, next thing we know, we got coaches, and we built a tradition. We built something that's very meaningful for Connecticut.
Yep.
We built something that people were so interested in, and it really is amazing to think where we've gone and where we are today. And you were there from the very beginning as well, so it means you've been right along.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of...
We were all young back then.
We were. I had much less gray hair.
Me too.
Yeah. But it has gone so quickly, and the franchise has experienced so much in what will now be 15 seasons of Connecticut Sun basketball. And you're going through a transition period right now, a new head coach last year, and now you've brought in a new vice president. Chris Yanko, your longtime general manager, has moved on. Challenges for you as the top executive here, aren't they?
Well, as challenges, I mean, look, we were, Chris was here for a long time, and obviously it was difficult to find someone to replace him. But I knew Amber from her days in Phoenix. She's a real talented executive. You know, she's running two teams, this and the Black Wolves, which is really taking off as well, the indoor lacrosse team. And she's got a lot of great ideas, a lot of fresh ideas. She's really in tune with the players. She was a player. She, you know, used to do a lot of the player stuff herself when she was at Phoenix. Now she's more on the business side, and so she's been a great addition, a lot of energy. It's very exciting. And I think what Curt is building here, and we really saw it last year. I mean, we all saw it last year in the second half of the year. What he's building is special. And I think that the whole situation with Chiney, as unfortunate as it is that she's not playing this year, her signing and her willing to extend her contract really shows her belief in Curt and belief in what we're trying to do here, and that she wants to stay and be the core of this team. So he's got a lot of energy. The players love them. He really stays in touch with the players. I think they're in tune with him. And I'm very optimistic about this season, Chiney or no Chiney, because we've got an amazing young core, and we've got some really, really good players, and I think we're going to see a lot of exciting things.
There may be a few people, very few, who are not familiar with what has actually occurred with Chiney Agwumike, who had a great comeback season last year.
Yes.
She was the Associated Press Comeback Player of the Year in the WNBA, and then another unfortunate health setback. She blew out an Achilles tendon, so she is not available for this season. But as you just said, She showed faith in the franchise. You showed faith in her by signing her to a contract extension. She'll be suspended, though, for this
Right.
season. That word has perhaps negative connotations, but it really isn't a negative in this case. Maybe you can explain exactly what that means.
Yeah, so Shanae won't play this year. She's been suspended for the year, but suspended for this year means she's not on the roster. We can have a full roster, but we have signed her through, I think, 2020. So she'll be with us next year, and 3 years after that. And it really shows her desire to be here. And also, last time she was hurt, she stayed with the team, and we were willing to do that. But I think she was able to take a step and say, it's better for my team if they can have 12 players on the roster. And so we will have 12 players. It makes it easier to practice. It makes it easier in case you get an unfortunate situation. So that's a really great thing. And so that's kind of new. And there's a lot of new stuff, but there's something special, old this year, which is Alli Hightower.
Mm-hmm.
Alli Hightower, who really was an all-star the last time she actually played a whole season. I think this is like 4 years that she hasn't actually been able to play with us, and she looks good. She played during the winter, and I ran into her in the hallway coming back from the employee cafeteria the other day. I said, Alli, it's great to see you. And, I think she's obviously taking everything with a little bated breath because, she's a little stung by it, but she's going to be a huge addition to this team as well. It's like training for an all-star, getting her back. So that's very, very exciting.
I know that you are also high on a second-year player for the Connecticut Sun, Jonquel Jones, and the forwards, the bigs on this team are so critically important, considering that, again, the Sun are going to have to overcome the loss of Chiney Agwumike.
I agree, and I think JJ is going to have. You could see it. Let's face it, she's an extremely special player. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And you could see her developing as last year transpired. And I think she had a great overseas year. And I think you're going to see a quantum leap. And you're going to see her really taking that step to becoming a dominant player. I know that when they drafted Jonquel, they really had high hopes, that for what she could become. And remember, we traded this year's draft pick essentially for Jonquel Jones. And so when we ended up getting the 8th pick in another trade, but our number 1 draft pick for this year really played last year and is on the team now. And, she can shoot. She can do everything. She dribbles like a guard, and she shoots threes like a guard, and she's 6'6", and it's just amazing. And the fans love her. She became a fan favorite quickly, at least around where I sit, and really, really exciting stuff. So this team, I mean, there's so many great components of this team. Rachel Banham back healthy. Morgan will be back healthy. AT, what can you say about Alyssa Thomas? I mean, it's I don't know, superhuman, not actually, really a droid or something.
Big motor.
I don't know how to describe her, but she does stuff that you don't ever see happen, and it's really, and Kurt and his staff, and we've kept all continuity, same exact staff in place, which is great, and it's an exciting year.
The Connecticut Sun essentially had 2 seasons last year: the pre-trade, and the post-trade. The record.
We didn't even talk about Courtney Williams.
Exactly. The Connecticut Sun were 3-13, and Kurt Miller was still trying to establish, as he refers to it often, a new culture, and things were slow out of the gate. Then the Connecticut Sun made the trade with the Phoenix Mercury, acquiring Courtney Williams. And after that 3-13 start, the Connecticut Sun would then finish 11-7, I believe it is, and they won 8 of their last 12. And that's really the way to look at this new season. You're building off last year.
And again, even with the Chiney injury, if you look at what we brought in behind her, on the team, we had like the 3rd best record in the league for the second half of the year last year. And there's no reason to think that's not going to keep going. And, it was a new system. It was a new culture. There was a lot of new stuff last year, and it's always better the second year. It always takes time. So, I think there's a lot to be optimistic about, and there's a lot of fun that we're going to see.
You mentioned a few moments ago about the people who sit around me in the stands. Now, I'm always on the air, so I don't get a chance to see Mitchell myself, but I know a lot of people who watch you during the game.
Yeah.
You have a hard time keeping your emotions in check, which is not a bad thing, but this is a labor of love for you, isn't it? The passion is very
I love
evident.
the team. I'm very passionate about it. I do yell a lot at the games. I had to move from court. After sitting up in row G for most of my whole time, we decided I would try sitting courtside. That didn't work out. So my wife made me move back up to row G. I was too close to the refs, although I did see the owner of Houston last night. I was very proud of him. He walked right up to the ref and complained. Did you see that on?
I missed it. I did not.
I was like, this is my
Right,
guy.
that's right out of Mitchell Edison's
Like,
playbook.
I was sitting there and complaining they tried to kick me out. So I don't know what they did to him, but anyway, yeah, it's exciting and it's fun and it's something that's very important to me. And even when I had retired from my CEO job and I'm back doing that for the time being now, I still stayed on. The tribe kept me on to kind of be the CEO of the basketball team and and the lacrosse team. So I never really retired from this. So.
Yeah, Mitchell just referred to the fact that he was the former CEO of the Mohegan Sun.
Of the company.
The
whole
entire
yeah.
company, and now he's back in that on an interim basis.
Right.
But I talked to you before we started here today, if you could ever see yourself retiring, so to speak, from your role here with the Connecticut
That might
Sun.
be tough.
This is part of your fabric, isn't
Right.
it?
That might be tough.
In addition to the Connecticut Sun, you've been around now for 15 years, 15 seasons of the WNBA, and you're very
Yes.
active in league matters.
Correct.
Where do you see the league, where it's gone from when you got involved in 2003 to where it is now and where it's going?
It's funny. When we first started talking, you were talking about the differences and 15 years ago. And the one thing that's just amazing is the quality of play has exponentially. It is way better than 15 years improvement. I mean, the quality of the athletes, none of the players. I mean, if you look at the players that were on our first team, and our first draft pick, Courtney Williams, not Courtney Williams. I can't remember her name.
Yeah,
But her name was Courtney.
Courtney was and
But
if you give me
anyway,
enough
right.
time, the gray matter
Right,
will
but
disappear.
anyway,
It'll
but
kick
yeah,
in.
and that person, could not have even made the team now.
Yes.
And and just nothing against her, but the level of play is so much better. And I think the league's in a good place. I think there are going to be more games on TV this year. I think you can see they're trying to innovate. And the innovations you saw, they tried to make the draft a little different. They're always going to be trying things and always going to be trying to improve things. I think there's a real focus on the business and a real focus on what we're trying to accomplish. So I feel like the league's in a really good place. You've got solid owners. I've been on the board of governors since we started. I'm pretty active in some of the committees, and I think we've got a lot of people really committed now, and it's good. And you're going to see a few franchises. I mean, you should see Washington, which was once a proud franchise, kind of even before we got involved. Yeah. Mike's down there now, and now they got Della Don. She's from there, so you should see Washington have some people in the stands, and you should see some a little more improvement there. We are going to have, I think, 2 of the teams are going to be having interim homes. That's always hard in the summer, but I think the league's in a really good place, and I feel really strongly about it. I don't feel any differently than I did when we first started.
If you are just joining us, just dropping in, want to tell you what you're watching right now. This is the live stream of Connecticut Sun Media Day 2017. I'm Bob Huesler. This is the president of the Connecticut Sun, Mitchell Edis. My broadcast partner is Debbie Fisk. And Debbie, I wanted to kind of build on what Mitchell was just talking about, players who 10, 15 years ago were making the franchise out of college and couldn't do it today. You played for UConn back in the mid-'80s under Gino Auriemma. Before the WNBA came into existence, how hard would it have been for you to make a roster today?
Quite different. I even say that about making Gino Auriemma's team at this point. I do want to correct late 80s because that helps me age a little bit.
Sorry.
on the graceful side there. But without a doubt, I have to agree with you. The talent level is just amazing. What is college level, but what is coming out from those programs, but even overseas that you're bringing into to the league. It's a tough situation, actually great situation, but much tougher for any college player now to come out and think that those big dreams, but certainly to dream.
No, it's great.
I love hearing the history because I haven't been back those 15 years with you and with the Sun. It's impressive with that. What would you take away as one of your key memories, fond memories of experiences here for the Connecticut Sun?
Well, it's not my fondest memory, but it's my most vivid memory. So we're in Seattle. We won game 1. It's game 2 of the playoffs. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and we're, Nisha Shales had an amazing night. It was a 3-game series back then. We win this game, we win the championship. The girl, whatever, intern or whatever from the WNBA is there telling me where to go, right, when we win. Yeah. And I remember distinctly, Lindsay Owen gets the ball, she dribbles in the corner, she goes underneath the basket, great Mike Tebow play, over Nikisha in the corner, who had not hardly missed a shot all night, drops back, fires a shot that from my angle looked great, and it hit the side of the backboard.
Yep.
and that was depressing. So that's that's my biggest memory, but not so fun. But there's been a lot of great things and a lot of fun times and a lot of great people, really. So I think I'm actually going to be handing this over to Amber Cox in a second. I think she's standing by.
Yes.
But yeah, it's been quite a run, and I mean, I tell you, it's the people that you meet through this and the players, and you think of Katie and over the history of the people that have come through here that you get to know, Lindsay Whalen, and now the newbie with Shanae and AT and Jazz. I mean, they're just really the players in the W are great. And it really is wonderful.
Mitchell, it's a pleasure having you lead off
thank you for having me.
Connecticut Sun First, our first live stream of Media Day from inside the Mohegan Sun Arena. And congratulations on guiding this franchise into its 15th anniversary
season.
Thanks
a lot. And good luck with all your interviews. We'll see you soon. Yeah, Amber Cox, I think you're up.
We are off and running as Mitchell
We're live
Edis.
here. Don't trip over the ball.
It's not soccer. It's basketball.
I did not tell them any secrets.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
It's
Welcome.
live television,
Joining
everybody.
the live
so
television.
there are no commercial breaks. There are no interruptions. We just move from one guest to the other. And in case you're just joining us now, I'm Bob Usler. That's Debbie Fisk, my broadcast partner. This is a live stream on the Connecticut Sun YouTube channel of Media Day 2017. You are going to hear from everybody today, every single one of the Connecticut Sun players that are in training camp, and 15 of the 18 on the preseason roster are here. You're going to hear from them. You're going to hear from all the coaches. And now we are pleased to be joined for the first time by the new vice president of the Connecticut Sun. Her name is Amber Cox. Amber, it is a pleasure to talk with you for the first time in your current capacity. You are no stranger, though, to this league. Part of your professional resume, the Phoenix Mercury, was one of your professional stops. But as we fast forward to here and now, what attracted you to this job with the Connecticut Sun?
This team, well, first of all, thank you for having me today on the first live stream and the 15th Media Day in the history of the Connecticut Sun. We're obviously so excited to get the season started, and this is a great way to do it, and hopefully all of our fans are enjoying seeing this live in action. But, I think in all my years in the WNBA in Phoenix, I was there 9 seasons. Connecticut was a model franchise, is a model franchise in its fan base, the way that they do things, the way they treat their players. Obviously, I'd been here for many All-Stars that have been hosted here through the years. It's just an unbelievable property in terms of the entertainment value of coming to a game with the restaurants and the shops and everything around coming to the actual game. So, obviously I've gotten to know Mitchell through the years and really understood the value that they place on this franchise, how much it means to the entire organization, and the pride that they take in making sure that this is a first-class product that we put out on the court.
So bring us through your professional steps. We mentioned the Phoenix Mercury, but you have a greater breadth of experience than just the Mercury. You've been in the college game with the Big East, the Major League Soccer with Houston. But take us through your career and step by step what eventually led you here to Connecticut.
So I grew up in Missouri. You can probably hear a little bit of an accent. I don't have the accent that everybody else has around here. I grew up in Missouri, played basketball at an NAIA school, William Woods University, ended up becoming a sports information director at a small school in Missouri, Columbia College, was there 5 years, and then was hired by Jay Perry, who is now the COO of the WNBA, to be the director of marketing for the Mercury. And I was there 9 years, and as Jay moved over to the Suns, I became the COO and then eventually became the president running the basketball operations as well. 2014, I left the Mercury and went to the Big East Conference, the newly restructured Big East, to work for Val Ackerman. That was a big opportunity, and certainly I missed Val on the front end of my career with the WNBA, and I had so much respect for her and the opportunity to go work for the Big East. I was joking with the team the other day. I've seen a lot of Jess January's games at DePaul. She's a great player and enjoyed her collegiate career. And then from there, I went to Houston, dipped my toe in MLS with soccer, and also the NWSL, which is the Women's Pro League, for a couple of seasons. But I always knew I was going to come back to the WNBA. It was really about finding the right opportunity, and this certainly has been it. And along with the Sun, I've had the pleasure of also running the Black Wolves, which I didn't have any experience in indoor lacrosse, and I have enjoyed that thoroughly as well.
Yeah, you hit the ground running here because, as Amber just mentioned, she also is the vice president of the New England Black Wolves, the indoor lacrosse team that plays right here inside this arena, and now making a transition to her first full season as the vice president of the Connecticut Sun. And you are replacing somebody who was here from day one. Chris Cienko moved on at the end of last season, and he was the one-person general manager, and now the structure has changed a little bit. The general manager by title and in terms of player personnel is the head coach of the Sun, Curt Miller, and you are his partner on, the best way of saying this would be on the business side.
That's correct.
Describe the details of your job and how it's changed somewhat.
You know, it's hard to follow a legend like Chris Cienko. He's a great friend. He was a great mentor when I came in the league, and certainly is responsible for much of the success that the Connecticut Sun has experienced. But when Chris moved on, obviously Curt was named the general manager to take over the basketball side, and I was brought in really to focus on the business. And I think the great part about it, at least I think it's great, Curt may not think it's great, you can ask him, is, you know, I've had experience working on the basketball side in this league. I know the agents, know the other coaches, sort of know the players. And so I can be a sounding board. You know, he has his coaches, but when he asks, I'll give him my opinion. I try not to impose my opinion. But, you know, he's a wonderful basketball mind, and certainly was a big reason that I wanted to be a part of this franchise. You know, I was a fan when I was away from the league and watching what was happening at the end of last year, and then to finally sit with him in the interview process and just hear what he was building and what he's basing it on, the culture of the locker room. It was just so impressive. Yep. And I think if you look at the things that he's been able to do in the offseason with our players, with the Alex Bentleys, with the Jasmine Thomas, those players didn't want to go anywhere else. And that's a real testament, I think, to Curt and his staff and, you know, their commitment to building this together, which is, you know, it's awesome, and it's great to be around.
It's a partnership, and it takes time to develop a partnership, but from the sounds of things, you and Curt are already in sync, aren't you? And you had not had a personal relationship with him before coming on board with the Connecticut Sun. So, again, hitting the ground running, that's kind of an exciting thing in a professional life to develop. In this case, you know, that has to be a hand-in-glove kind of relationship in this case with Curt. Sounds like it's going very well so far.
It is. He's just absolutely a pleasure to be around. We spent many hours on the phone early on, just getting to know one another. You know, he's really committed to building those personal relationships, not only with his players, but with the staff. So, you know, we, in the offseason, spent a lot of time talking, not about basketball, just about life and philosophies and how we were going to do this together. And, you know, we had our team dinner the other night, and I just feel like I've been working with this guy for, you know, a decade. Yep. We really feel in lockstep. So it's been a wonderful transition, and those guys have been great and welcomed me with open arms.
Let's reset the scene here. This is your live stream on the Connecticut Sun YouTube channel, our first ever live stream of Connecticut Sun Media Day. You're going to be hearing from all the players and all the coaches of the Connecticut Sun here today. I'm Bob Huschler. My broadcast partner is Debbie Fisk. This is the new vice president of the Connecticut Sun, Amber Cox. And Amber, what kind of a challenge has it been building this front office? I'm sure you've made some changes, maybe brought in some new people and different way of doing things with the new executive. What are some of the changes you've implemented?
Yeah, it's never, you know, completely seamless when you come in. We have had a bit of transition. Unfortunately, Anne-Marie Django, who's been with the franchise for 16 years, left us, moved on after 16 seasons, and, you know, she'll certainly be missed. Was well known by the fans, and obviously, again, a big part of building what we have today. But, you know, I think that's part of the process, and this staff is so committed. This organization is so committed that I think we all realize that we're in it together. And it is just about sort of finding what the process is that's going to work for us. And you mentioned it earlier, I was really hitting the ground running. You know, I started in November, and the Black Wolves were playing, you know, in January. So we really didn't have much time to spend, you know, pining over what's different. What do you think? Like, we just had to get in there and do it and figure it out. So it's been great. Everybody's wonderful. A lot of long-term staff here, which really speaks to the commitment and the culture at Mohegan Sun.
And this is the 15th anniversary season of the Connecticut Sun. I'm going to echo what Mitchell Edis said earlier. It's hard to believe it's already into our 15th season here. A lot of special things are planned by the organization for this 15th season, including some things that will directly involve the fans who are watching right now. Why don't you explain some of the things that are going on there?
Yeah, we unveiled a logo earlier this year, the 15th anniversary logo, which is a patch on the jerseys that you'll see as they come through. We're very excited about that. The big celebration will be June 29th when we play Seattle here on ESPN2. It's our first time being on ESPN for a while, so we're very excited about that. And we'll be celebrating a lot of our 15 seasons and all the highlights and giving all the fans a shirt with the logo on it. We're going to bring back some of the key players from those early years. I'm not going to give away all the secrets. I'm not going to give away all the secrets. But it's going to be a great celebration of, what the Connecticut Sun has meant to this marketplace and the WNBA. And then the other thing that I think is really cool that we're doing, we're actually putting a mural up on the concourse wall, and it will be a big 15, and we're asking fans to submit their photos, and we're going to collage those photos within the 1 and the 5 and the 15. So if you haven't submitted your photo, submit your photo. Go to ConnecticutSun.com. So that's going to be a cool way to really commemorate all the memories that people have shared with us through the years.
The fans getting directly involved. And Amber, how well have you gotten to know some of the season ticket holders and some of what is a very passionate fan following here in Connecticut?
I love WNBA fans, and what I've known about Connecticut fans, obviously, for a long time is they're just really smart when it comes to women's basketball, when it comes to basketball in general. So from the get-go, I was getting emails, which I love. I love hearing from the fans, and I think that's one of the things I'm most excited about the games is that I can interface with them on a regular basis and hear their feedback and get their questions. And sometimes I won't have the answers, but I'll always try to find them. But it's the best part. It's why we do what we do, is for them to be able to come out and be really proud to be a part of our organization.
At the very first Connecticut Sun Media Day, way back in 2003, the team media essentially was comprised of print reporters. Social media wasn't really in existence yet. The internet, of course, was up and running, but mainly it was print. There was television, of course, and radio coverage. That's how I started with the Connecticut Sun. But now social media has taken over coverage of this game, and it has allowed the players and executives to connect with the fans as they never could before. What kind of role, and you're seeing it right now, is social media going to play going forward under your direction here with the Connecticut Sun?
I think it's such an opportunity to tell the stories of these players. And in Connecticut, we are very fortunate to have what you would call traditional media, following us and a part of our day-to-day and really helping us tell those stories. But our players are so good at it. Their Instagram accounts or their Twitter accounts, they're really sharing their experience through their social media, and that's a way to create that connection. And I think especially as we're continuing to try to build the next generation of Connecticut Sun fans, that's where they are. That's where they're living, is on Facebook Live or streaming live or Snapchat and all the things I don't really even understand. But it's a big part. It's a big focus for me. And I think across the board, our commitment as an organization, we've got a full-time social media person. That's all she's doing for the most part.
Doing a great job, by the way.
She is doing a great job. She's doing a great job really helping us tell that story. And obviously our players are behind it as well.
Absolutely. You mentioned the market. The marketplace is the word you used. Every market is so unique, so different. You came from the Phoenix Mercury as your main background in the WNBA, but Phoenix is different from New York, which is different from Los Angeles, and here you have Connecticut. What makes this Connecticut Sun marketplace unique?
It's the capital of women's basketball in the world.
You just made a lot of great fans in Connecticut.
It is. I think you pay attention to it for sure, and obviously I've watched UConn and I've come to Sun games, and you look around and see, like, even in the years when they're not making the playoffs, the place is pretty full still. And I walked out, UConn was playing Texas here earlier this year, and I was standing over in the corner and walked out and just looked around like, this is unbelievable. This is just unbelievable that how this marketplace is so behind women's basketball. And I think because, you have pro teams, you have the Yankees and the Red Sox that are away, but when you talk about Connecticut, the Black Wolves and the Connecticut Sun are your two pro teams.
That's
right? And being a women's basketball state, there's not a lot of saturation. And when I was in Phoenix, we dealt a lot with that. You've got every other major pro team. Houston, it was the same thing when I was in soccer. So I think you've got some clear air, which is wonderful. Again, it gives us the opportunity to have that traditional media coverage that maybe some of the other teams don't get. But there's never a barrier when you say women's basketball. I think sometimes in other markets you have to go in and explain why women's basketball is a quality product. You never have to do that in this state. It's wonderful.
And I have to speak from having young children who came to the games last year, boy and girl, and love the atmosphere here, that it's for families as
Totally
well.
is.
It's sometimes people think you're coming to Mohegan Sun. Does it have to be? Is it bigger than that? And I think the Sun has catered to every type. The ranges, from young to old and in between. And I think that's something that the fans really enjoy too, because why not go see a game and see good basketball and let girls especially dream big that maybe someday they can be a Connecticut Sun.
100%. And we try to make it affordable. We've got great things like a family fun pack that are available on certain game nights where you can get food and tickets for under $100 for a family of 4, which is really saying something. And we've also put a great focus on our in-game entertainment. I think that's the expectation now when you go to sporting events, and especially for kids. It's about the dance teams and the mascot and what's happening at the timeouts, and certainly the basketball as well. But I think it is a full experience, so we definitely want to give that. But yeah, 100%. All from 4 to 100. We want them all out here this summer with us.
You were both, Debbie, as a former point guard at UConn. You were just mentioning how you played at the NAIA level. Could either of you envision what we are looking at today with the WNBA just celebrating its 20th anniversary season last year, the Connecticut Sun into their 15th year? Could you have ever prophesied where we're at right now?
No way. It's the most, and I chime in here, but it's the most incredible thing. And there are days when it's hard. There are days when, you feel like, this is so difficult, and maybe you aren't able to get something done that you want to get done because we are maybe still an emerging league. But then you see these players and they're living out their dreams, and you talk about the little girls, right? You meet somebody in an event who's, loves Jasmine Thomas or Morgan Tuck, and that's why you do it.
Right.
That's why you do it.
The growth has been exponential. I think that along those lines, because it's one of those things where in our day, it's one of those that it literally was you played college basketball, and it was a great opportunity. You had a great education. You were a student athlete. And then it was you went on to a profession. It wasn't the idea that there was ever the possibility that you could, if you had the talent, to pursue, whether it's overseas or, in the beauty of it is that it's in the United States. It's right here in the country that you grew up in. So having that opportunity and seeing that it is quality, as we had mentioned earlier, there's the idea it really has gone from, you're just starting up and trying to get players there, where now it's the premium that are playing great basketball.
Yeah, and very shortly we are going to be talking with a lot of young Connecticut Sun players who grew up with this league as part of their aspirations and goals. And as we wrap things up here with the new Vice President of the Connecticut Sun, Amber Cox, I want to give you a chance here to talk about the here and now. We have the season right around the corner. It's hard to believe, but the opening night of the Connecticut Sun season is here at home 2 weeks from this Saturday night.
Bob.
I know
There's a lot to do, Bob, in 2 weeks.
But yeah, preseason games as well. Why don't you start off by actually talking about what has now become an event? We had this last year where you had 4 WNBA teams playing doubleheaders on successive nights, and it's going to be repeat performance of that this year. Why don't you preview the preseason games here at the Sun?
Yeah, we're really excited to have this event. It gives us a good opportunity on the business side also to, have sort of a run-through before opening night, but it gives our fans, our great basketball fans, another opportunity to see all these teams play. So we've got L.A., New York, and Chicago coming in. We've got doubleheaders on the 2nd and 3rd. That's Tuesday and Wednesday next week. 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock. We'll play play in the second game both days. But certainly, great event, good way to kick it off. Then I also want to mention we've got our tip-off breakfast on May 9th here at the Convention Center, and we just added Rebecca Lobo to the event. Who'll be coming in and providing a little keynote. So go get your tickets for that, because that'll be a lot of fun. The whole team will be there, the coaching staff. Just another good way to get excited about the season.
And Rebecca Lobo, of course, one of the foundations of this league,
Absolutely.
a member of the first Connecticut Sun team in 2003, and congratulations to her, a new basketball Hall of Famer. And so you'll be able to see her and meet her and talk with her. She's so accessible at the tip-off breakfast. And I hate to rush things along here as far as the start of the season is concerned.
Everybody wants to hear from the people that are coming on
I
next
meant
anyway.
as far as the season is concerned. But yeah,
I thought Bob was throwing me off here. I got
we
you.
will graciously say it's been a pleasure to speak for the first time with the new Vice President of the Connecticut Sun, Amber Cox. Look forward to doing it many, many more times during
Thanks
the season.
to you both.
Amber.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Amber. That's Amber Cox as we continue along here, our live stream of Connecticut Sun Media Day 2017. I am Bob Husler. This is Debbie Fisk, my broadcast partner, and it is live television. No commercials, no interruptions, no stoppages. We just roll it along. We have promised you everybody today. Every player in the building will eventually sit down and talk with us. All the coaches are going to talk with us, and we're joined by one of those coaches right now, the assistant coach.
All right, before you get going, you introduced her, but then we have to talk about her outfit before we get to basketball, Bob. All right?
That's your department.
Okay.
I will be more than happy to hand it off here to Debbie.
Loving the shoes. Loving the shoes. We're going to talk about those. Go ahead.
As we introduce Nikki Collins, second-year assistant coach here with the Connecticut Sun. It's a pleasure to see you again, Nikki. Welcome back, although you haven't gone anywhere. Welcome back to actual now in season.
I actually did leave because I live in Fort Myers in the off season. So I've been back for 2 weeks now. Got back before the draft and have been here. So I always joke, a lot of my neighbors are what they call snowbirds, where they winter in Florida. And so now I'm just the youngest snowbird on the block. So everyone packs up in April or May and goes back north, whether it's the Northeast or the Midwest. So I summer in Connecticut.
Debbie, you want to set the scene here now?
Let's set the scene. Before we get to the basketball fans, we need to talk about the shoes. And now, again, it's the outfits and everything from the sidelines when we were doing games last year. Couldn't say how fabulous dressing, and there's a lot of fans out there loving those shoes currently. We have to flash those.
Don't show the pedicure, though, it needs.
So tell us here. It's just something, are you a shoe fetish person? Is it just something?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. I do have a shoe fetish. There's no doubt. Running shoes and heels. So, my kids tend to go, Mom, did you get a new pair of shoes? Yes, guilty, But I've always joked that the greatest thing about coaching is that I love fashion. My favorite show outside of watching basketball is Project Runway. So I love fashion, I love shoes, and I get to dress up for 3 times a week for 2 hours, and then I put sweats on the rest of the time. And so I'm either in sweats or dressed up, but I don't think I could do this every day for work.
Right.
That's for sure.
Now, do you think you've put that onto your team and the players as when they're traveling and have spread out a little bit and sunk them into
Well,
your style?
I think Camille Little was someone who was constantly checking labels before games. She'd come around and decide if she liked my outfit or not, and then check labels. But I even had a couple fans come out of the stands randomly after games and say, "I really like the shoes tonight," And we're talking men and women,
right?
And
absolutely.
so. No, I love fashion, so it's kind of a fun way to mix the two things.
Of course, Nikki Collins is breaking a sweat right now in the practice gymnasium as the Connecticut Sun only have 2 weeks to the start of the regular season. It's a very short preseason for the Connecticut Sun and the entire WNBA. How big a challenge is that for the coaching staff to try and put so much in place in such a little framework of time?
Yeah, coming from the college game, it's a huge transition. Last year especially. And I think it's so much easier this year just because our veterans, we certainly have new players and new people in camp, but we at least have a core of players that understand how we do things, what we're looking for. You know, we haven't put a new offense in. So, you know, little things like that moves it along much faster this year. Last year it was a little overwhelming, and then you throw in 3 preseason games in that mix. You know, I think that's in some ways you want to see players play in the preseason, and you want to see, you know, because you've got to get down to that final 12. But in a lot of ways, I look at the preseason games and think, wow, we might have gotten more out of a practice, you know, sometimes when you play those games.
Interesting.
So
You mentioned overwhelming. Did you mean for the players or for the coaches or for everybody involved in year one last year?
Well, I think it was probably everyone last year. When you have veterans where it's new, what we're putting in is all new. We had 3 rookies last year who don't understand WNBA terminology. You know, I think it was probably indicative of the kind of start we got off to last year, because trying to play catch up, it's not easy in this league, especially with as young as we were, you know. And so you throw in our youth and you throw in just a whole new system. How we did things maybe were different than the way they had been done in the past. And I think that didn't help early, even though we played a lot of close games early. I think, you know, we didn't necessarily play winning basketball at the beginning because we were still playing catch-up. I think when you look at having the Olympic break last year, not only did we, you know, make a mid-season trade, but then we had a month, 3 weeks to practice, and we had all our players in practice. Right. The impact that stretch of time, not just from an X's and O's, and, you know, we just kept getting better, you know, and we were young enough that was so important. And, you know, even doing things like the ropes courses and our players really getting to know each other a little better and really knowing how much we cared about them, you know, all I think showed when we turned the page on, you know, after the Olympic break, those games and how well we were playing down the stretch. I mean, I think it was just kind of last year was a true growth from beginning to end, you know, with some hiccups in between.
Connecticut Sun won 8 of 12 and 3 in a row to close last season, and here they make the transition into this season under the guidance of Kurt Miller and Steve Smith and Nikki Collin, who's joining us right now on Connecticut Sun Media Day 2017. And Nikki, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to our fans who may not know about your playing background and your coaching background and the path that led you to the Connecticut Sun.
Wow. I'm a little older than I look, so that's a little longer than we probably have time for. But I grew up in the Midwest and kind of fell in love with basketball in the middle school. And so went to Purdue and played for Lynn Dunn, who a lot of our fans would know from her time on the WNBA. Played for her, actually transferred from there and finished my career at Marquette. So I'm a Golden Eagle. Got my degree in engineering, which that's not real normal in the coaching world.
Very impressive.
So got into coaching, and my first year in coaching, I worked with Kurt Miller at Colorado State. So that's where we kind of hit it off, personality-wise. You know, he recognized, he's not that much older than me, but he recognized that I had a kind of brain for the game early on. And, you know, he was in my wedding when I got married. He was in our wedding, and we'd always said, like, gosh, we'd really love to coach together someday. And so my husband was a college coach. We both worked for, Kurt and I both worked for my husband. So
why don't you tell us who your husband is and where he coached?
Okay, Tom Collin is my husband. He was a longtime assistant, but then was the head coach at Colorado State, Louisville, and Arkansas. And so when he retired, it kind of gave me the opportunity to pursue kind of my own career outside of his. So I was in and out of the profession based on nepotism laws and all kinds of random things over the years. Right. But, you know, in the midst of that, I have 3 kids and 12-year-old boy-girl twins and a 9-year-old. So they're back in Fort Myers, where I worked at Florida Gulf Coast before coming here. And so when Kurt got the job here, instantly it was kind of the first opportunity for kind of me to break away and work with him. So I had loved the WNBA. I tried out for the Detroit Shock the first year of the WNBA, and then ultimately played overseas and realized that a 5'5" point guard was not that sought after in this league. And when the ABL folded and all of a sudden, you know, all those players, the Dawn Staleys, flooded the WNBA, I knew it was time to move on. And so but I followed it. I'm one of those people that have had an all-access pass from the beginning. So I've always appreciated the pro game, and just thought, hey, here's just a unique opportunity to coach with and against the best of the best. So, it's been fun for Kurt and I. We're really good friends, but at the same time, I've always respected what he's done in his career.
She is a Midwesterner. She's a snowbird.
I'm a snowbird, yep.
And she is now fully entrenched as an assistant coach here with the Connecticut Sun. Nikki, it's been a pleasure
Absolutely.
hearing from you and getting to know you a little bit better
Sure.
on our first live stream of Connecticut Sun Media Day. Look forward to doing it again many times during the regular season.
All right, watch my shoe game, guys.
Nikki Collin, as we move it along here on Media Day, and we are going to be joined for the first time on this Media Day 2017 by a Connecticut Sun player. We're going to talk to all the players in attendance here today. You're going to still hear from Kurt Miller and Steve Smith, but our first guest today, as far as the player contingent is concerned, is Rachel Banham. Rachel, welcome back. And
Thank you.
Question number one is, how are you feeling?
Hey, good, really good actually. I'm 10 months out from surgery, so I'm feeling really good. I'm not quite 100%, but I'm really working on getting there. And I've been able to practice full out the last 3 days, so I've been really happy with that.
I said, how are you feeling? And I should, of course, explain to those few fans who aren't familiar with what I meant by that, is you're coming off a knee injury and a procedure. Talk us through what happened last year in your rookie season, what led to the decision to finally shut it down, and what did you go through to get back to where you are now?
Yeah, well, pretty early on in May at some time, I tore my meniscus, and then, I just tried to keep pushing through it. I really wanted to play and, see if I could make something work out of it, but it was pretty painful. Then finally, I had the surgery in July, and I ended up having some cartilage damage stuff, so we had microfracture surgery. And then now I'm here, and I'm good, and I'm healthy, and feeling good.
Did you play hurt last year? You can admit it now. And if you didn't play hurt, how much discomfort were you in?
The beginning of the year, I felt pretty good, and then once, like I said, I tore my meniscus pretty early on, I think in May, so that was right when we started. So I was pretty uncomfortable up until I had surgery. And a couple weeks before surgery, I was feeling it a lot. And I finally sat down with our coaches, had a meeting, and just said, hey, I really want to be here for the team, but I need to get this fixed because it just wasn't getting any better. And it was, if anything, I was making it possibly worse. So I just wanted to get surgery in. Yeah.
Debbie is a former guard. I'm sure Debbie can relate to your experiences as a player, but Debbie, did you ever go through the kind of physical challenges that Rachel's been through?
I was very fortunate, never had one of those season-ending injuries where you really just had to shut it all down and do that. But saying that, knowing that mentally you want to be out there playing, and how hard is that to go through it, knowing that, okay, I have a long progress here. This isn't just going to be a 3-week shutdown. Yeah,
it was tough. And I've had ACL in college, so I was really hoping I could just push through it. And that, it's just going to be, if originally it was meniscus, it was only going to be like 4 weeks. So I was like, okay, I can handle that. And then it just got worse and worse. And then it ended up being like a 6 to 9 month progress. So I was like, oh, but I've gone through it before, so it was a lot easier mentally this time.
Now, how is the timetable? So you're not quite 100%. Is there a timetable where, not that you want to set your standards too high there, but do they give you an idea of where you need to be at a certain time before you get that full 100%?
Not really. Honestly, the percentage is really just how I'm feeling. Okay. It's just I'm giving that to myself. So I'll know when I'm really feeling 100%, when I can kind of work out a little bit of the aches and pains, and when I feel completely, really, really strong. And I feel great, but I know I have a little bit left I could give. So I'm kind of just giving myself that assessment, and then I'll kind of know. But the doctors and all them say I'm good to go.
Excellent.
Yes.
I'm Bob Huesler. That's Debbie Fisk. This is Rachel Banham. This is a live stream of Connecticut Sun Media Day 2017 as we count it down toward the start of the regular season for the Connecticut Sun, which is only 2 weeks from Saturday night when the Sun right here in the Mohegan Sun Arena play the Atlanta Dream. Rachel, I know the injury prevented you from doing what you probably wanted to do in the offseason. You had plans to play overseas, didn't you?
Yeah. Definitely.
So those went by the boards, but I know you had one very enjoyable moment this season back in your home state of Minnesota. You had your number one retired. by
Yes.
the University of Minnesota. Describe the elation, the emotions that you felt that night when you saw your number being raised to the rafters.
Oh, it was so cool. It was just a really special moment. And, everyone tells you how awesome it's going to be, how special it's going to feel. And I was so nervous. And I had to talk in front of everybody. And I had a whole thing planned out. I think I said 3 words out of all of that. So I was just so nervous. But it was such a good moment. And I was so thankful to everyone that put all that time into it and everything that everyone's done for me in college and all that. So it was really cool. And now when I go back and play, I can see my picture up there. So it's pretty awesome.
Well, you certainly earned the attention, the accolades, and of course, in this case, infamy as far as, not infamy, that's the wrong word. You earned a legacy moment at the University of Minnesota. And as you well know, and I'm sure it's been a storyline many times here with the Connecticut Sun, how you share a commonality with another former Connecticut Sun guard out of the University of Minnesota, Lindsay Whalen, who you have a
Yes.
personal relationship with, don't you?
Yep, we're good friends. Yeah, she's awesome. I've always looked up to her as she's played at the U. She came in here at the fourth pick, so it's funny that was the 4th pick.
Yep.
And then, yeah, so we still catch up and talk every once in a while. So, yeah, she's awesome.
Was she one of your mentors in terms of preparing you for what life would be like in this league after you were drafted?
I've definitely talked to her. So she's been someone I can always go to, and she'll, give me advice on stuff like that. So she's definitely been someone I can lean on. And she's super honest, super truthful, and she's always willing to just give me advice regardless of the fact that she's on a completely different team. So she's always been really open to that.
Great person, Lindsay Whalen, going back to her first year here was 2004, experienced some great years with the Connecticut Sun, and now Rachel Banham is trying to follow in her footsteps, so to speak, a little bit of a different position, but a high-scoring guard out of Minnesota who is now in year 2 with the Sun, and now the training camp is underway. Give us an idea of the mood of camp, the team's optimism about this upcoming season.
Yeah, we're really excited. We have great energy. The biggest thing right now is we're just trying to get used to each other. We have a few new faces, new bodies, so we're just trying to figure that all out. And, Coach has been really patient with us, trying to figure out the plays for some of the new kids. But we've been just, giving a lot of energy. We're just really excited. And then our biggest focus this year is coming out strong from the start. We all know last year it was tough from the beginning. So this year our biggest focus is coming in with the punch first.
You yourself, did you feel, you said the uncertainty last year. Now you're coming in, you've put in a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Are you feeling was it a different feeling for you coming into camp and saying, here we go?
Completely different. It's kind of funny. Like when I sit and think about it, it's so different from how I feel than last year. I just feel so much more comfortable, more confident. I don't know why rookie year has to be so hard for most people or me. I don't know. But I just feel so much more comfortable on the court and confident. And, I think it helps, too, that our team is so close, and it makes me feel really comfortable. And they let me shoot whenever I want, and they make me feel really comfortable knowing that I could do that.
Is there anything that team take from a tradition or something from last year to this year that's going to continue and carry over?
Tradition. Well, when we have off days, we definitely try to plan something together. I know a lot of us are going to go see a movie tonight.
What's the movie?
Fast and Furious, but it's not called that. It's like Fast and the Fate.
Is it that?
Fate
it's
and
not
Furious.
The eighth
They
one
changed.
or
Yeah,
something?
it is,
Okay.
but they changed the title a little bit. So I think it's
Okay.
the last one.
All right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a fun thing.
Yes.
Time for some team bonding.
Yes.
Plenty of time for that as you count it down here to the start of the regular season. And as we wish you success for the season, most notably, we wish you great health, Rachel. Hope you,
Thank you.
play pain-free all
Yes.
season long, and this your second year with the Connecticut Sun.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That is Rachel Banham joining us as part of our live coverage here on Media Day 2017 here at the Mohegan Sun Arena. Next up, as we just roll it along here on live television, is one of the newcomers. This is our first opportunity to meet and greet a new member of the Connecticut Sun, Jessica January, joining us. I'm Bob. That is Debbie.
Hi.
And welcome aboard. Welcome
you.
inside the Mohegan Sun Arena as part of Media Day 2017. It has been a whirlwind for any rookie player in the WNBA, whether it's you or anybody out there right now that is joining this league for the first time out of college. What has the experience been for you since being drafted out of DePaul and now hitting the ground running here with the Sun.
Yeah, I think a whirlwind is a good word for it. But it's been fun. I think coming in, no rookies have any expectation of what's going to happen. But I think I got lucky. Connecticut is a really good team. All the players have been really welcoming, and the coaches have been unbelievable. So even though it's been sort of stressful, it's still been fun. And, third day today, I think starting to get a little bit comfortable, a little more used to things. So it's been cool.
And your experience of coming to Connecticut, because I was actually had the pleasure of watching you quite often as a college student athlete, and a lot of times going against UConn, and the notability of your team and you personally was just up and down, running gun, and a motor that just kept on going. Is that a style that continues, do you think, that you'll be able to offer to Connecticut Sun?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, at DePaul under Doug Brionna, we had the greenest green light in America. If you're open, you shoot it. So, and also sharing the ball. I think also with this team, everyone is so good shooters and posts, and just being able to get the open woman the ball is something that I think I can be able to bring here.
Unfortunately, you had to endure an injury at DePaul, broken finger that hampered you in the latter half of your season, correct? How big a setback was that for you, and how hard was it the first time you've had to overcome an injury obstacle in your career?
I've had one previous injury back in high school, but this was definitely one of the hardest ones. It happened right before conference started, and so I missed the entire conference season, and that was really challenging just because, obviously it's my senior year, and, you're so comfortable in your position at the school, and you're just ready to, play the best that you can. And so I didn't really have the opportunity to play it throughout the season, but luckily I did come back, and I got to play it in the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament. So I had a few games under my belt before, getting drafted and being here. So that definitely was helpful.
This is Connecticut Sun Media Day. I'm Bob Huesler, along with my broadcast partner, Debbie Fisk, and you are listening to one of the new members of the Connecticut Sun, Jessica January, who was a draft pick, third round. And what was it like for you on draft night? There must have been a lot of nervousness and anxiety. What were your emotions when your name went up on that board?
I was speechless. I didn't have any words for what happened. I was so excited, very emotional. Like we talked about previously, I didn't have any expectations of getting drafted because, I hadn't played throughout the conference, and so not a lot of people got to see me. So it was such a great surprise, and so I'm so grateful for this opportunity.
Who did you share that moment with, that feeling? Was it it's family? Was it a coach or somebody that has been there through those moments of what you dreamed to be someday?
Yeah, I was actually with Doug Brionna.
We
were out to eat, and he was there, and he was ecstatic. I'm really happy that he was there for that. So yeah.
Yeah, I actually I cut and pasted one of his quotes about you. Training camp is like 15 to 20 dogs fighting for one piece of meat, and you've got to be one competitive human being to make it through that. I'm excited for Jess because she's one of the most competitive human beings I've ever coached. So that puts you in good stead for this training camp. And you're only a couple of days into the training camp, but how competitive has it been, and how competitive do you need to be in order to make sure you can secure a place on this Connecticut Sun roster?
Yeah, it's been real competitive, especially I think today was our most competitive day. And I mean, you're playing with pros, so everyone, has either played in the league, there's a few rookies, but everyone has played, and they were the best on their teams. And so you're at a whole nother level with physicality and competition, and you got to bring your game every day, and you have to be physical, and you have to be ready for what they're going to bring. So it's challenging, but it's fun.
Has there been a drill that you haven't seen, or what the heck are they doing here, or thinking, oh, okay, I have this one down?
A lot of the drills are new that I've never seen, but I think just the offense in general, there's more ball screens and more post involvement. Coming from DePaul, we didn't really have huge posts, so that's a big change. So, yeah.
What have you gained from talking to fellow DePaul WNBA alumni? I know Alli Quigley comes immediately to mind. Have you leaned on her or others Keisha Hampton, right, would be somebody else you could talk to, is in the league. Have you gained any advice from them?
Yeah, absolutely. I did talk to both of those players before coming to training camp, and they had some really great advice. Basically, it's pretty similar stuff. You got to come into training camp and you have to be yourself. You can't come here and try to do anything more than what you've been doing in your college career, and you got to shoot the ball when you're open, and you got to be competitive every single day. So.
What about some of the players here on the Connecticut Sun? Have you made any relationships, connected with any players early on?
Yeah, I think, like I said, everyone is really cool on the team, and they're really genuine. And I think, obviously Jazz Thomas is a veteran here and the leader on the team. So I haven't got to speak with her much, but I've been able to ask her questions, and she's been really helpful. And just being able to watch her at the point guard position and, try to do exactly what she does, has been helpful.
How hard is it to learn a new system? You played for Doug Bruno, one of the great coaches in the college game, but now it's the pro game. Kurt Miller has his own system that he implements. How do you think you'll adapt, and how hard is it to learn this pro system?
Yeah, I think the hardest part is just being able to pick it up really quickly. So obviously they put in a lot of offenses within a short period of time, but playing for Doug Bruno, we played pretty much freelance basketball, and I think that really helped me prepare to be able to just play basketball and pick up things easier. So.
Well, Jess, it's a pleasure getting to know you and meet you, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck as you tap into those competitive juices and look to make this Connecticut Sun 2017 roster.
All right. Thank you, guys.
That is Jessica January, one of the newcomers for the Connecticut Sun. I'm Bob Huesler. This is Debbie Fisk. And now we're going to be joined by one of the returning members of the Connecticut Sun. As she can walk right in. It's live TV, and as we've been saying, John Quill.
How y'all doing?
Good, good. No commercial breaks, no stoppages. This is live streaming. Yes.
Okay. I don't know about that one.
This is Connecticut Sun Media Day 2017 as we live stream on the Connecticut Sun YouTube channel. I'm Bob Huesler. That's Debbie Fisk. And we're pleased to be joined by Jonquel Jones for the first time this season, but she is no stranger now to the Connecticut Sun. She had a great rookie campaign, and Jonquel will cut right to the heart of the matter. There is a little bit more pressure on you this year because of the absence of Chiney Agwumike. We've already touched upon one of the unfortunate storylines heading into this season for the Connecticut Sun, but it's reality. Chiney is dealing with an Achilles tendon injury, so one of the stalwarts on the front line for the Connecticut Sun will not be with them this year. It does put a little bit more pressure on you. How have you come into this camp dealing with that thought process that they're going to be asking more from me here in year 2 than year 1?
Well, I mean, I just, you come into camp the same way regardless. You want to work hard. You want to, put your best foot forward. You want to make sure that you're doing the best to make sure that when the team starts playing that we're able to hit the ground running and hit the ground and stride. Last year, we started really slowly, and at the end of the season, we started to, come into our own. And I think that's really going to help us this year because people are starting to understand more of what Coach wants and starting to understand how other players play and, learning teammates' tendencies and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be good.
Connecticut Sun did start slowly last year, 3-13 to start, but they won 8 of 12 down the stretch, and you were a big part of that, Jonquel. You almost mirror what the Connecticut Sun did, learning process, feeling your way through your early months as a professional, and then just got better and better as the season moved along. What were the keys to improving and getting into your comfort level here in the WNBA?
I think it was just, just learning. It was a lot of a learning curve in terms of, coming from the college game and then coming into the WNBA. So for me, I was learning new plays. I was playing with new teammates, and all of that stuff was just, it's just all there. And I just had to, find my way and navigate through it all. So I think after a while, I started to get it together. And I think it was the same thing with the team. And after a while, we started to understand, what it was we needed to do to walk out of the games victorious. So I think we're going to be good this year coming out of the gate.
One of the things often we heard last year was that in the WNBA, there's not a lot of practice time once the season's going. It's game travel, and doing that. And as such a young team, not just yourself, to learn plays or to get that chemistry going, Do you think that made any impact?
Oh yeah, I think it definitely does. And then not only do we not have a lot of practice time when the season starts, but training camp is really short. Most times when college teams get ready for the season, they take a whole month to get ready. We don't have that time. We don't have that luxury because you have people coming from overseas, and you have new players who are coming right out of college after the Final Four, and all of that stuff. And so it's not a lot of time for preparation. And then, like you said, when the season starts, you're just going. So all of that stuff really does make it harder to learn and harder to get your groove and stuff like that. And so I think we did a decent job of, as rookies, of coming in and doing what we were supposed to do. But now this is our second year in the league, Morgan, Rachel, and and I think we have more responsibility now, so we have to step up to the plate.
Now, how does that go in the transition? What did you do for your game? Saying, okay, season's over. I did all right, pretty good, but now you want more. What's your protocol on how to get better in the game and what you did in the off season?
Well, I think it's important to have people that are around you that know how to develop your skills and stuff like that. And I think when I went to Korea, we practiced a lot, so I had a lot of time in the gym. I had a lot of time to hone my skills and work on new things. And I think it's really going to translate when the season starts. So just making sure you're staying up to par. And I think it's hard for us as women's basketball players not to, because we're playing year round,
Right.
And so I think the hardest part is just trying to develop new skills, because when you play in a game, you tend to go with what you're natural at, or what's easiest or best for you to do. And so as you play in those games, or as you have practices overseas, you kind of want to learn new skills and do different things. And I think I've done a pretty good job of doing that.
How was that experience in South Korea?
Oh man, it was awesome. It was awesome. The
First
food-
time there?
Yeah, first time there. First time, I think, being in the country for that length of time, that where the first language was in English. So
Oh, yes.
yeah, so for me it was a learning experience. It was a
I want
great
to know,
experience.
did you learn any language?
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
you say something for us?
Yeah, in Korea it's just like say hi or good morning. It's like annyeonghaseyo. When you want to say thank you is kamsahamnida. Just little small stuff like that. If you want to say like somebody's cute, or like a little child is cute, you'll be like Kiyomi. Kiyomi is cute. So I learned a
that's-
few little words here
You
and there.
corrected it with a child, but I was wondering if there was...
I knew you would say that.
You corrected a little bit, but I'm curious.
Right. Well, if I was dating anybody in Korea, any guys in Korea, I'd probably be like Kiyomi, because they're so short. I have to look down like this. So,
I like that.
so no, I didn't find anybody in
All
Korea.
right. But there were some cute little boys.
Right.
John Quell, there's no rookie ever that has come into this league not wondering about whether they can match up
Right.
against professionals. And I'm
Right.
sure you went through that phase last year. Was there a moment during the season last year where you said, you know what, I can play in this league?
Right. I don't remember exactly which game it was, but I just remember, I don't remember which game it was, but I just remember having a really good game, and just playing against any of the good centers and just being able to hold your own against them. I think that really helps you out a lot too in terms of your confidence. I think the coaches were telling me from day one when we walked into training camp, all of us, Rachel, Morgan, and I, that we were there for a reason, and that they had their draft plans and they were able to execute it, and they wanted us there because they knew that we could do it. So, just having a coach say that to you and actually believing in it and seeing it translate are two different things. So over time, I think it just slowly came to me, and as I watched film and as I played against other teams, I think it slowly came to me that, you belong here and you deserve to be here, so I think it worked out.
I think that a couple of times last year, and Bob, you can help me out with this one. When you came off the bench, there was electricity. There was
Right.
excitement. You get a block.
Right.
You'd hit that three. That was
Right.
one of those things outside there. And was that something that your role in saying, okay, I'm not sure where I'm going to go with this, but the one thing I'm going to give is effort and electricity?
Yes. I think watching the game from the sidelines, and I keep saying me, Rachel, or me, Morgan, and I, and I think we just watched the game. We said, when we get in there, we just, we play hard, and we didn't know how long we would be on the court for, but we knew that, we said to each other that no matter how long we're on the court for, we're going to go out there and we're going to put our best foot forward. We're going to make sure we, hustle for the ball and, try to get loose balls and try to win the 50-50s. And so all of that stuff, I think we prided ourselves in, and I think it translated really well. And I think the fans here saw it, and they saw the type of effort that we were giving, and they were really excited to see what we would become together. So It's going to be great.
This is Connecticut Sun Media Day, live stream on the Connecticut Sun YouTube channel. I'm Bob Huesler, that's Debbie Fisk, and this is Jonquel Jones. Full of energy, as you can see, full of life. And in her second year in this league, and Jonquel, you come from the Bahamas.
Yes,
A lot of
sir.
people know your story already, and
Yes,
there
sir.
aren't many basketball players that come into this league by
Right.
way of the Bahamas, but there happens to be
Right.
another very notable player in the NBA from the
Yeah.
Bahamas who's a good buddy of yours. And
Yeah, buddy.
Buddy Hield had a pretty nice.
Buddy.
Use the pun.
Your buddy had a very nice season for
Yeah.
Sacramento Kings, and we were talking about the pressure on you.
Mm-hmm.
How about the Sacramento owners saying that I think Buddy Hield could be the next
Steph
Curry?
Curry. I know, right? I
You know what? There were times this year, I actually broadcast a game this year involving the Kings and watched Buddy Hield look like Steph
Steph
Curry
Curry, right.
in that game.
Yeah.
How closely have you maintained contact with him while you've been in South Korea and he's in
Right. Exactly.
Sacramento?
So, I mean, I try not to bother him too much because I know, like, when you're focused on something, and this is his first year in the league, he's got to, he has to really focus in and make sure that he's able to produce and do the things that he wants to do on the court. I definitely keep tabs on him, though. I always try to support. When he had that 30-point game, I hit him up and, just told him congrats on that. And it's special to see what he's doing. I remember when we would wake up 5 o'clock in the mornings and, work out before school and, different stuff like that. And he always had to drive. I remember one day he didn't even have a ride to practice. He lived maybe, I would say, more than 10 miles away. And he got to the gym late, but he came in there dripping sweat. And we're like, what's going on? First of all, why you late? And second of all, why you sweating like that? And he's like, I didn't have a ride, so I just ran here. Exactly. And that was before practice. And then he proceeded to come into practice and work harder than everybody in practice after running miles. So just to get there. So he's special, and he has that work ethic that's definitely going to translate for him, and it's definitely going to take him into being, one of the best players on the court. I have no doubt in my mind.
All right. Besides, outside the basketball realm, I hear that you write your own music.
Yes, I do.
So is that just a passion of yours? Is something that you like to do?
It's a
and you like
hobby.
to rap a little bit?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Would you
sir.
please the fans with maybe giving us
Yeah.
a little bit of something?
Yeah, so I rapped something earlier, and I guess I'll do it again. This is a song that I wrote a while back, and it was just about just understanding different people. We may be a different skin color, but deep down we're all the same, and we all want the same things. And the chorus is like, now I see, yes I see that you and I, we're the same. Take my hand, walk with me to the promised land, free of guilt and pain. And then the rap part is like, free of guilt and pain. Is there really such a place? Free of color, man. Is there really such a thing? All he wants is bling, thinking that the things ease the pain. He received the change, realizes life is still the same. What's bills to a flame? Ashes, the blind man melts, he is his own slave master. His vision of himself is the #1 disaster. The power in his mind to build his thoughts into ladders, a hazard. And that's all I do right now.
That
Fantastic.
was
Thank you.
amazing.
That was
wasn't
really
it?
good.
And I love the words and everything.
I love the lyrics.
Did you hear
I
the verse, the voice?
The rhythm
Thank you.
and
Wow.
cadence.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Connecticut Sun, you better, keep her in the uniform because she's got another
I have a
she's
feeling
got another job.
we've already lined up one of our halftime features
Ah!
this upcoming season.
Well, thank y'all so much for having me.
Jonquel, congratulations on a
Thank
great
you.
rookie season. Looking for even greater things here in year 2.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's Jonquel Jones, as you just discovered, one of the great personalities on this Connecticut Sun team, as our live coverage of Media Day 2017 continues. I'm Bob Huesler. That is Debbie Fisk. And we are going to welcome in our next guest. We promised you players, we promised you coaches, and we promise you right now another good, outstanding behind-the-scenes member of the Connecticut Sun, somebody you don't get to see all the time. If you watch very closely to these games and you watch on the bench, you'll see Tim, but Tim is a strength and conditioning coach here for the Connecticut Sun. And Tim, why don't you pronounce your last name properly for our
My
audience?
last name is pronounced Uhas.
Okay.
Yep,
We'll get-
Uhas.
get that
I
on
just found out that it's not. I grew up my whole life. My mom telling us that we're mostly Irish, but Slovakian.
Oh.
But no, it's not that. It's Hungarian.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we found that out. Yeah, that's
Interesting.
why I'm always hungry.
And you are now, you're sharing it now with a worldwide audience.
Well, there you
here.
go. See, everybody knows now.
As we continue our coverage of Connecticut Sun Media Day 2017. Tim, it's an important job you hold here, literally trying to get this team into shape as you look at the Connecticut Sun as they arrive in camp this week. What kind of physical shape are they in? What kind of work do they need to do?
Great question, Bob. A lot of the girls coming back from overseas are stressed. Obviously, they've been playing year-round, so we take a different approach with some of the girls that have been working with me in the off-season. Morgan Tuck, Rachel Banham. The other girls coming back, they're in a little bit of a fatigue state, so I've got to watch them and make sure that we're not doing too much with them. Their strength levels are down, believe it or not, because when you go overseas, depending on what team they're playing with or playing for, they depending on how much running they do, a lot of them came back a little bit, lighter than we expected. So it's my job to try to get them not only in the weight room to get stronger, get their strength levels back up, but also from a nutrition standpoint, we've got to get them eating properly again. Because I don't know what they've had access to overseas, right? And how much they've eaten or whatever. But regardless of that, a lot of teams run their girls into the ground over there. They're not as, maybe up to date on some of the stuff that we do over here as far as conditioning. So that's what I have to look at closely to make sure that they're not worn down and that they can withstand yet another season of play.
I'd like to quiz you on some
Sure.
of the Connecticut Sun players. Why don't you tell us who is the physically strongest player on this team?
Well, right now I'm gonna say Morgan Tuck because she's been with me after she had her surgery. She started back with me about late December, early January, and she's been working her tail off and doing really well. And she's, again, also been on a pretty strict nutrition program, which has really fueled her body for these pretty intense workouts that we do. But her strength levels have gone through the roof. Her power numbers have gone right up, so I'm really pleased at where she's at right now.
Can you bring us up to date on where Morgan is at? She just had that knee cleaned out a little bit, right?
Yeah, there was a little bit of a catch. Something was catching in her. It wasn't really hindering her from doing anything. It was just more of a nuisance. It was just bothering her. So, she talked to me about it, and Jeremy and the rest of the staff, and she decided to go in and get that cleaned out. And I'd like to think because of how strong she is and her mobility and her stability that we've built up over the off season, that helped her recover even faster. I mean, she went in and she's ready to go. She's ready to go right now. So she's looking great, and she's biting at the chomp to get in there. So, we're happy about that.
Some of those exercises, my background, a little bit of exercise science and physiology here. So
Sure.
is it squats? Is it open-ended? Is it deadlifts? What kind of exercises or is it that maybe these players?
Deb. Great question, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what we do with athletes. Growing up, it was always squat, bench press, whatever. A lot of these girls, because of the length of their femur, their upper leg bone, they can't squat. They can't barbell back squat. And we don't do that a lot anymore anyway because it's bad for your back. We do a lot of deadlifting. So in the off season, Morgan went from deadlifting like 200 pounds. Now she's deadlifting 315 pounds. So that is that's an exercise that's going to not only build our strength, but allow us to jump better. A lot of people they have misconceptions about squatting and jumping. The jumping pattern in basketball and a lot of sports is actually the deadlift, because what it is it's developing strength from our backside, which is more important, really. But to squatting, what we'll do, Debbie, is we'll do a lot of single leg exercises, which now can be made more individualized for the athlete, right? Okay. So now we're trying to fit the exercise to the athlete, not the other way around. We're not banging a square peg into a round hole. We're going to try to make it doable for them. And I think just in the old school mentality of strength training is that, you got to squat and you got to get your butt to the ground or whatever. That's not it. We're going to fit it to the athlete as opposed to the other way around.
And some of that then is a lot of their own body weight that they're moving from place to place. Are you putting medicine ball activity in there?
Well, our medicine ball activity is part of our component. We have a system of training, and that's its own little component within the workout, but that's for power development. Okay. So we're going to do some type of a chest throw or rotational throw or an overhead throw to help develop total body power.
Gotcha.
And again, if we've got an athlete that's coming off an injury or hasn't been familiar with an exercise, we're going to start them with body weight. Okay. Because that can be challenging enough for them maybe, but in order to get strong, you got to lift, and that's a challenge for me with some of the girls to understand that they're not going to get big and bulky, they're just going to get strong, right?
Yep.
There's an old myth out there, right?
It is.
That's if I look at that weight, I'm going to get big and bulky. Right. That's just not going to happen. The male hormones aren't there. They get the the best benefit. They can work hard and get stronger. And in order to get powerful, which is what we need on the court, to be fast and explosive, you've got to be strong. You can't be powerful without being strong first. You got to build on those building blocks.
And now we've learned that Morgan Tuck is the physically strongest player on the team. Who would be the most athletically gifted player on the Connecticut Sun, and who is the hardest working player?
Oh boy, you're putting me on the spot.
That's your hot seat. I just want you to know if anybody's listening.
The hot seat, right?
We know they're all hardworking,
Yeah.
but often there are some with just that extra motor. Maybe the
He
Connecticut
loves the
Sun
weight
has
room more. How's that?
That's a great one, and we're gonna go hands down Kelly Ferris.
Okay.
Yeah, Kelly works really hard for us, and I mean, like I said, they all do when they're in the weight room. But she just has that really big desire to get in there. She's always asking me, "Can I get an extra workout in here? Can I?" You know, and I'm always like trying to calm her down a little bit. But yeah, Kelly's there, and
athletically gifted.
Athletically gifted, boy, I'm gonna have to say, boy, that's a tough question. They're all very athletically gifted. I'm gonna say that that Morgan's very athletically gifted. We've got Kelly's very athletically gifted. I'm also trying to think. I'm having a brain cramp here. I can't think of all my athletes.
I was going to have a name for you, and I lost it as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've got
Alyssa Thomas.
Alyssa Thomas is very athletic. Jazz. Thank you. Now I got the ball rolling here. Jazz.
And
Yep.
Jessica January comes in with a great pedigree as an athlete.
Absolutely. I've only had her for a couple of days in the weight room and to watch her on the court, but she looks excellent. And of course, AB is very athletically gifted as well. We're dealing with a little bit of an ankle issue right now with her coming back from overseas, but very athletically gifted too. So
AB, of course, is Alex Bentley,
Alex Bentley,
who suffered a tweak of her foot, was
a little
it?
bit of a tweak in the ankle. Yep.
Okay.
So that's been kind of cropping up here and there over the years with her. So I think coming off a long season in Europe, that it's just kind of flared up a little bit, but it's not going to be anything that's going to keep her out. So,
Tim, so much to do, so little time to do it. But best of luck.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me on. I'm kind of the guy, like you said, behind the scenes, and don't get a lot of credit for anything, but it's fun.
But as a former athlete, we hate you, but we love you.
The love-hate relationship.
Yeah, it's like we hate you, but we love you, and we're so thankful.
Absolutely, and us former UConn Huskies.
Hey, there we go.
Right?
That's right.
Thank you,
Tim. Thanks for being with
right,
us.
thanks a lot.
Tim
All right.
Uhas,
Right.
who is the
See you
strength
then. See
and
you.
conditioning coach of the Connecticut Sun. As we move it along here on Media Day 2017, I am Bob Husler. This is Debbie Fisk. Media Day means your chance today, for the first time ever, to listen in and watch as we introduce you to all of the Connecticut Sun players, the veterans and the newcomers, one of whom we are being joined by right now. This is out of Ohio State, the Ohio State University, Shayla Cooper. Welcome inside the Mohegan Sun Arena. Welcome to the Connecticut Sun. How has it been in these first few days of training camp for you?
I mean, it's been crazy, how fast-paced everything is, and, it's just a blessing to be here. I'm just thankful to be here.
What was your reaction? We asked Jessica January this a few moments ago. What was it like on draft night? How nervous were you? How anxious were you? What were your feelings when you saw your name selected by the Connecticut Sun?
Yeah, no, I was very anxious, seeing all my friends get drafted before me. That was great. And then when they called my name, I was just staring at the screen, because it was a dream that I always had. My mom was sitting next to me crying out of being proud, and it was just a great feeling.
A moment, obviously, you'll never forget, but now all that is part of the past.
Yeah.
You're in the present, and the reality is this is a tough, competitive process. And you don't have much time to prove yourself. The WNBA preseason is so compacted. You need to make an impression quickly. Mm-hmm. How have you mentally prepared yourself for that? How have you maybe spoken to others, maybe mentors, coaches, to get you ready for what is going to be a very challenging training camp here?
Yeah, like you said, mentally, just taking a step back, knowing I'm a rookie, I don't know very much, and just picking the brains of the vets, the coaches, and just being a sponge, just trying to absorb as much information as possible.
What was it like in your senior season at Ohio State? What kind of a senior season did you have, and was the WNBA always that goal, that that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Were you always shooting for a pro career?
Yeah, I was always shooting for a pro career. You know, my senior year at Ohio State was great. We won a Big Ten championship that year. We made it to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament, and I was able to lead my teammates. You know, that was something that I focused on, leaving my junior year into my senior year, making the freshmen, rookies feel comfortable being there. You know, and I think I did a great job of that.
And you joined a Connecticut Sun team that needs help on the front line. We have been talking about the absence this year of Chinea Gwumike, who was obviously the stalwart of this Connecticut Sun front court. Jonquel Jones is back. Morgan Tuck is back. But certainly there are jobs to be won here in the front court. What do you think you need to do specifically to nail down a job here with the Connecticut Sun?
Specifically, I think I need to show my athleticism at the 4, show that I can dribble it, show I can set great screens, and overall just be a great teammate, bring a lot of energy, bring a lot of intensity.
Tell us a little bit about Shayla Cooper. You know, your background, how did you get into basketball? What were your inspirations growing up?
My mom played basketball with me till she was 6 months pregnant, and then she finally gave it a rest.
Tell us about your mom, her name, and you just mentioned what she was playing basketball.
Yeah. Well, my mom, her name is Shayla Cooper, and she played basketball at FIU, and then she got pregnant, and she was pregnant. She played with me until she was about 6 months. So I think while she was in there playing, I may have been dribbling around too a little bit, and I picked up my first basketball when I was 8 years old, and ever since then I never put it down. I had dreams when I was younger, playing against Lisa Leslie and stuff like that, and it was just I worked day and night, put in a ton of work. My mom was my coach up until after middle school, and it was just a dream, and to see my dream coming true is just unbelievable.
Yeah, Shayla Cooper out of The Ohio State University is joining us here on Connecticut Sun Media Day. I'm Bob, that is Debbie, and Shayla, you just touched upon something that we spoke about with Mitchell Ettis, the CEO of the Connecticut Sun, earlier, that when this league started, you had a generation, the vanguard of the WNBA that kind of they blazed the trail for others to come like you. You grow up with this league as a reality, which is, something that a lot of players couldn't say. What were your first memories of the WNBA? When did you first become aware of the league? You mentioned Lisa Leslie. Who are some of the other professional women's players who inspired you?
Lisa Leslie being one. When I was younger, I actually played her in a play in elementary school, so that was great.
Tell us about that. How did that come about?
I had to. It was like basically it was a dream, which was the play, and my dream was to be a basketball player. So my mom went out and got me a Lisa Leslie jersey, and I watched her and seeing her dunking and blocking shots and all that stuff, and another role model was Sylvia Fowles, watching her play.
Sure.
Yeah, watching her play. She was a great player in college. I watched a lot of her college games. And just growing up and seeing those players and seeing, that they could do it. And I was like, well, if they could do it, then I can do it, So it gave me a lot of hope. And that's something that I just chased day and night.
You watched Sylvia Fowles at LSU. Where is your hometown?
Georgia.
Georgia, okay. So did you have a favorite WNBA team? I don't think the Atlanta Dream were around maybe when they came along later in the league. Did you have a favorite team in this league?
Yeah, it was definitely the Sparks. I felt like that was
Lisa
like
Leslie.
Yeah. It was yeah, exactly. And it was definitely the Sparks. I think it was the colors, and just the players that they had, and being out in LA. I never been to LA, so I was just like, "Ooh, what's that?" And just as a young kid.
And now you're going to get a chance in the preseason to play against the defending champion, Los Angeles Sparks. What kind of a thrill will that be for you?
Oh, that'll be a great experience, to play against, like you said, the defending champions. Be a great test for the team and for myself, and just to see kind of how I fit in with them.
Shayla, it's great to get to know you now. We look forward, though, to getting to know you much, much better as this season progresses. Best of luck here in training camp in your rookie season with the Connecticut Sun.
I really appreciate it.
That is Shayla Cooper joining us here on Connecticut Sun Media Day as we move it along. It is going to be, let's see, we go from a rookie to the leading returning scorer for the Connecticut Sun on Connecticut Sun Media Day. You just heard Tim Uhas refer to her as AB, better known as Alex Bentley, joining Bob Husler and Debbie Fisk here on Media Day. And Alex, first things first, a little bit of an injury setback here early in the season for you. You hurt your ankle, not a serious injury. Tell us about what happened and how far this is going to set you back.
Well, I'll be ready in like maybe a week and a half,
Okay.
2 weeks, tops. So, I'm looking forward to getting out there and competing with my teammates and getting on the floor because they're making it look like so much fun right now. And it pains me to be on the sidelines right now watching, but they're doing a great job.
Well, let's rewind this a little bit and talk about what you've been doing since the end of last season in September and what you do in the off season here leading up to this Connecticut Sun year.
I have been in Turkey since then. So, just playing, living my dream, going overseas and playing more basketball.
Yeah, and you did a lot of traveling in the off season as well, didn't you? Tell us a little bit about that.
I got some time off, so I got to go to Jerusalem. I had the pleasure of going to Dubai, and also I went to Amsterdam, and they were all beautiful and amazing places, and just blessed to be able to get that time to go and see other parts of the world.
Yeah, tell us how that came about. This is something that you always wanted to do. You said you had the luxury of a little extra time.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for these extra trips? I mean, you do a lot of traveling as it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love to travel, period. I love to go out and see the world and see and explore new things. And so the opportunity presented itself, and so I took my chance, A lot of us who play in the WNBA and overseas, we don't get a lot of time to experience those types of times within our schedules. So I definitely just capitalized on my opportunity.
Any good stories coming out of those trips? Any singular moments?
None that I can share here, but we're just gonna keep it where I left them.
That's for the book, right?
Yeah, in those countries, we'll leave it there.
What's training camp been like so far? And I know we're only 3 days into this new week of the Connecticut Sun season, but we're only 2 weeks from Saturday night is the season opener, so it moves very, very quickly. What's the mood in camp here so far?
The mood is just competing. People are out here dogging each other, it's a dogfight for sure, and everybody's scrapping, everybody's giving 110%, and like I said, it's been fun to watch, everybody's out here competing and wanting to earn their spot on this roster.
Took a while for you to get into your rhythm last year. It was a new coaching staff, a new system, and I'm sure you would be the first to admit it just didn't all click at first, and then you took off, and then you became the Alex Bentley we've all come to know and love. How did that happen? What was the process that got you from those rough early weeks into where it was much more of what you're used to?
Yeah, I think I just grew more and more comfortable within the system, and obviously with the new faces, every season brings on new challenges. So I wouldn't put it all heavily on the coaching staff being new, and obviously the player-coach relationship does matter, and obviously the system matters. But like I said, I just tried to focus and hone in on me and get back to the Alex Bentley that I know that I could produce on the floor.
You were a restricted free agent in the offseason or an unrestricted free agent?
I think I was unrestricted.
Unrestricted. Well, that makes it even
Clarify
more
for
of a
us.
relevant question. That means you had the pick of the litter out there.
No, I'm kidding. I'm restricted.
Okay. But you're
I got him. I got you.
Yeah, well, I had it right the first time. At least give me credit
You
for
did.
that.
You did. You did.
But the fact is, you re-signed with the
Yes,
Connecticut Sun.
yes.
That's a commitment to this franchise. Tell us why.
Connecticut has always been great to me. They've been good to me. It's been my home for 3 years. So just extremely comfortable. I'm definitely happy to be here. I'm always excited to come back and get going every season. So just that excitement and that willingness, and I want to be here genuinely. So them, bringing me back in the management and Kurt wanting me and extending this contract was a huge deal for me.
And I can tell you that a lot of the preseason prognosticators will look at this Connecticut Sun team and say, well, they finished the season strong last year, but Chiney Ogwumike was a big part of that, and now no Chiney Ogwumike, so the expectations are not going to be there. I know the expectations in that locker room are a lot different. Tell us why.
Absolutely. We're trying not to focus on too much of the outside chatter. We're a family, and we encourage each other. We stay positive, and we're always hungry and motivated. So, like I said, we're going to kill the noise on the outside and definitely take care of what we do inside the locker room.
I know Debbie Fisk, as a former guard, enjoyed watching you play last year.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
I know she probably has a few questions for you as well.
Let's talk from that guard mentality, or whether it's point guard or you're the shooting guard at times, you have that interchangeable ability. And a lot of it, I know it's made of offensive end, but defensive end, how there's times when you're picking somebody's pocket, you're getting in a passing lane.
Yeah.
Is that something, how do you make that part of your game, or is it something you concentrate on, or it's just your athleticism that takes it to it?
I've been trying to challenge myself more and more to do that more for my teammates, and that's something that I'm definitely going into this season focusing on, because I think that if I'm able to give that 110% on the floor on the defensive end for my teammates, throughout the entire season, I think it's gonna bring some good basketball to our team. Yeah.
And now, as the coaching staff, with Kurt Miller, I think there's times he's talked a lot about defense. Like, everybody's about you have to score more points than the other team, but there's something about getting stops. Are they in the camp right now? Is it more just worried about seeing what we have offensively, or are they starting to teach defense as well?
No, basketball. It's offense and defense. So Nikki has taken the reins a lot on the defensive end for us. So she's definitely getting on people, definitely yelling at people. I hope she yells at me, gets on me, and toughens me up so that I can get out here and do my job at the best of my abilities.
Are you watching the NBA playoffs?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Westbrook or LeBron James? Who would you take?
Westbrook or LeBron? I got to go with LeBron on that one.
I figured, but I didn't know. Everybody's, the new craze right now is that everybody's...
Westbrook obviously has been doing some amazing and tremendous things that people have not done before in the league, but when it comes to winning playoffs,
when you say who I want on my team,
when it comes to that ball going in the net, 3 seconds left on the clock and it's game time, I'm going with LeBron.
All right, who are you picking for the finals? What two teams?
Golden State and Cleveland.
All right.
Yeah, for sure.
And Cleveland taking it, or do you think Golden State?
I don't know. But all bets are off right now.
All right.
All right, these bets are on. The Connecticut Sun are going to surprise some people this season, and this is one of the reasons why. Alex Bentley, leading returning scorer from the Connecticut Sun, looking forward to another great year. Thanks for joining us here.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
AB, Alex Bentley.
As
part of our live streaming coverage of Connecticut Sun Media Day 2017, I am Bob Huesler. That is my broadcast partner, Debbie Fisk. And in just a moment, we're going to be joined by a second-year player with the Connecticut Sun. And you can walk right into the shot, Courtney, because this is a live stream, no commercial stoppages, no breaks. We just roll it from one to the other. And speaking of rolling along, you're looking to pick it up where you left off last year.
Yes, sir.
And we've already referred to the fact that the Connecticut Sun season last year was 2 seasons. They were 3-13 pre-trade, and then 11-7 post-trade, and won 8 of their last 12 games. And one of the catalysts of that was Courtney Williams, who was acquired in a trade by the Sun from the Phoenix Mercury. And let's start it off by talking about what was that frenetic rookie season for you. You start out off in the league with a team that was loaded with a lot of veterans in Phoenix and had a lot of time cracking the rotation, a lot of trouble cracking the rotation there. Come to Connecticut, things changed completely for you. How did you, when you look back on it now, how did you manage to adapt so quickly here in Connecticut after that trade?
I think my teammates and their leadership, when I first got here, they helped me right away. The coaches, my teammates, they just helped me with the plays. They helped me get the hang of things right away. So I think that was the biggest thing for me, just having all of their help.
Your coach, Kurt Miller, says that Courtney Williams has a confidence you can't teach. Do you agree with that? Is that something you've just always had? It's just been a part of you?
Oh yeah, my dad molded that in me. He always told me I should think I'm the best, always. Yeah. But I gotta put the work in to think that. So I think that was something I had since I was little. He made sure I felt that way.
Tell us about your dad, his name, and how he inspired you.
Donald Williams, and
Man, y'all think I have a lot of confidence. Y'all will hear him up in the stands a couple of games. I'm sure y'all will know that that's my dad. I don't even have to explain him because when y'all see him, y'all will be like, oh, yeah, that's Court's dad.
How often has he gotten to see you inside the Mohegan Sun Arena?
He's came a couple times, but I'm pretty sure he'll be trying to make most of them this year for sure.
What was it like with the Connecticut Sun in terms of learning a new system?
Mm-hmm.
You know, after you're at University of South Florida,
Right.
college career, Phoenix Mercury,
Right.
different coaching staff than the Connecticut Sun. Now you have to learn an entire new system under Kurt Miller.
Right.
What kind of a challenge was that for you?
It was definitely a challenge, but like I said, I had their help and my teammates. They was so patient with me. They were so patient with me. So they just told me not to get frustrated, and you know they always kept talking to me and letting me know where I was supposed to be at. So.
My broadcast partner, Debbie Fisk, is also, in addition to being a broadcaster with the Sun, she does the radio analysis for the University of Connecticut. So she's very familiar with you as a player at the University of South Florida. And you used to do pretty well in the games against the Huskies, didn't you?
I would say I had a pleasure of watching you for 4 years at South Florida.
Yes.
And when I was excited when I saw that you were traded last year
I was
to
too.
the Sun. You were?
Oh, definitely.
And I have to say, I was like, wow, you were an amazing player in college. Continued that now.
Right.
But what was impressed me most at that time, as you know, UConn players, there's a lot of players that would be good against UConn, but they would be shut down, I should say,
Right.
against UConn. You seem to find a way to still get score and get your points and make your team believe
Right.
that they could win.
Right.
Is that something that, again, that was just a pride factor, or your dad embedded in you, and that's something that you still have with your
I
game?
think it should always be a pride thing. You should never step on the court thinking the team just going to run you out the building. You know, I never stepped on the floor playing against them thinking, oh, they're about to dominate us, or who they have on their team is way better than who we have. You know, I always told my teammates, like, look, we finna come out here and we're about to play. We're about to make them feel us, you know? So I think that was our mindset every time we stepped on the court playing against them.
There's always some good ones went down the stretch. They always
definitely.
made us competitive. Now, knowing that the AAC tournament is at the Mohegan Sun,
Right.
and your team came here last year,
For sure.
did you get it reconnected all during that time? And I know you may not be here during that time.
Yeah, no, I watched a couple games. Yeah. It was a little rough.
They missed you a little bit.
Yeah, it was a little rough, but man, they always found a way to bounce back that next game. You can't take it, man. You just got to keep competing. Every game, you got to just keep competing.
Talked about the confidence of coming in as a South Florida player and playing against UConn. That obviously translated to the pro game, where now you're stepping up against veterans, people who have been playing this game professionally for many years. Was there, though, those moments where you're saying, wow, this game is at a different speed, a different level? What kind of a challenge was adapting to the pro game for you?
I think the biggest challenge adapting to the pro game is not thinking about running plays as much. And I think that's something I learned in Phoenix, like playing with Diana Taurasi and Pre and DB and Penny Taylor. They always told me, like, look, like, you have to read plays now. Like, you have to, even Cappy Pondexter overseas, she was my teammate. And she embedded in me. She told me, like, listen, like, now you have to read plays. Now you have to take what the defense is giving you. Now everyone is as athletic or more. So now you have to learn basketball. And I think I depend on my athleticism a lot. So I know over time, because I know it's going to take time, I just have to learn more about the game because there's so much that I don't know right now.
How much better did you get in that regard just by playing overseas in Turkey at a pretty high level?
Oh, so much better. Playing with Cappy Pondexter, man, she was at me every day. Like, every single day she was at my head letting me know, like, listen, you have to be a better leader. You have to step up. You have to you have to play. Like, you can't just take the back seat. Like, you have to learn this, and you have to keep this, because y'all young people are up next. So y'all have to carry on this league once we're gone.
Yeah. Cappy certainly is in a position. She's one of the all-time greats.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
She sees players like you, and what she's saying to you is she sees a little bit of herself in you. That's actually
that's
a compliment.
the greatest compliment.
No
Yes,
question.
for sure.
Talk about those intangibles with you, because I think last year we called quite a few times. I'm hearing Bob saying I got you being the one pulling down the rebounds from your guard position with a lot more monsters,
Right.
size-wise down low, and you would be one of those.
Rookie season with the Connecticut Sun.
Thank you
That is
so much.
Courtney Williams joining us here as part of Media Day 2017. Had some very
done a lot for me, and I feel really good. Whether the clean out or not, the coaches, they wanted me to take it really slow coming back in training camp. So I'm really on the same timeline that I would have been on. And so each day I've been adding more and more to practice. And so I'm hoping this weekend I'll get full go in practice.
When did you first start thinking last season that, geez, this thing is starting to act up on me? And what was the process involved? And, okay, that's a little bit too uncomfortable right now, and we better get this checked out.
Well, it was actually the last game I played at Atlanta. I had a weird kind of landing, and I knew right then that there was something wrong. So soon after that, I got an MRI, and 2 weeks later, I had surgery. So
Unfortunate, and it's just something obviously you've had to deal with in the past. How much has that helped you? The fact that you've been down this road in your career before with knee injuries.
It helped a lot because it was the exact same injury I had at UConn. So it was the same surgery, same rehab, but that also made it a little harder at the beginning because I hated the rehab the first time around. Right. So I knew exactly what I was getting myself into, but I knew what to expect, and it was the exact same pretty much, except I just wasn't at school, So I did the first part of rehab at school, so I kind of was. But, it helped just because it wasn't anything new that I didn't know what I was going to be doing.
So tell us how you did occupy your off season in addition to obviously rehabbing and getting stronger. What other things did you do?
Well, I still worked for the Sun, so I got to do a lot of events in the community. We did a lot of sales events. We're trying to get people to come out to games, but I got to speak at banquets, and I came when the high school championships were here at Mohegan, so I really got to just get out in the community and really experience Connecticut on a different level. And I got to see a lot of youth basketball and high school basketball that I never got to see. So that was a lot of fun. I got to do a little broadcasting, filling in for Deb. Yes. So that I loved doing that. That was awesome. Yeah.
Fans loved her. She was phenomenal.
Here you go, another person after your job, Deb. Luckily in this
exactly.
Luckily in this particular case, we're many years removed from Morgan looking into the broadcasting career path, but it sounds like you did enjoy it. Maybe it would be something 15 years from now that you
exactly. When I'm done playing, definitely something I see myself doing. I really enjoyed it. Bond made it really easy for me, so it was a lot of fun. I got a dog during the off season, so
what's the name?
Tucker.
What kind of doggy?
He's a miniature dachshund, a wiener dog. Yep.
Nice.
So.
Oh, I love it.
So I have him, and then my other dog Snickers. He's 9, so we've had him for a while. So they're both with me now. So they take up a lot of time, and I just got to, just kind of enjoy life. I got to go home a lot and just live a normal life that I haven't gotten to really do since I'm usually playing during season. So it was an unfortunate but good break.
Kind of slowed things down for you when you think about it. 4 years at UConn and all those national championships, the first round draft pick, a rookie in the WNBA, the injury, but maybe that kind of gave you a chance to step back and now re-energize going into year 2. And we've been talking since the start of this broadcast about one of the big obstacles the Sun face with the absence of Chiney Agwumike, and that places a little bit more pressure on the front court players such as yourself. How personally now do you approach that challenge of not doing too much, but knowing that there's going to be more expected from you this season?
Yeah, that's a big thing. Me and JJ are the only 2 returning post players. And so for us, it's, not one of us trying to replace Shanae on our own, but together and, the other post players, just everyone picking up what they're doing a little bit more so it's not a fall in the play because Shanae does a lot for our team. She's a really big impact player, and just her personality and how bubbly and positive she is, that makes a big difference on a team.
Yep.
So for us, it's just everyone kind of adding a little bit extra to make sure that there's not a fall in play. And for me, it is a big challenge, but I'm so excited to get back to playing. I'm ready to get out there and just play my best basketball.
Final thing, you did say a few minutes ago that you're kind of time frame wise exactly where you would have been even if you didn't have that recent clean out procedure. Can you be specific about what that timeline is going to be for you when we do get to see you again up to 100% with the Connecticut Sun?
Well, that's actually what I'm working with now. I'm pushing on our trainer Jeremy to, let me go a little bit. But when I mean taking it slow is just, not just throwing me right in there. Taking it day by day. The first day, more shooting drills. Then yesterday, adding some full court. Today, I got to do some one-on-one. So it's just adding each part of practice in day by day instead of just saying, okay, go do a full practice. So my hope is that I get full practice in this weekend in a couple days. And then, I'm also working on Jeremy for next week for the preseason game. So I'm really pushing to, get back out there. The coaches want me to take it a little slower, but I feel really good. So I'm pushing as much as I can.
All right, I happen to notice the pink nail polish.
This
Now, it looks lovely, but we know, coming from UConn and CD, Chris Daly, would not let that go on. Is it fun being able to wear that, not having any of those, rules and regulations?
It is fun because, I remember especially last year, like right after I got my nails done, I was like, I'm keeping them painted all season, So those type of things are fun. And, I get to wear the tights under my shorts, so you get a little more freedom of, your expression. So, CD's great, but I don't miss the no-nail polish.
A little bit along there. And you were able to follow the team a little bit this year through their run. I know you were doing it from the broadcast side, but also at the Final Four, saw you there. And
and it was weird being there not playing.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun until the game, but it's fun to be able to see them. I got to go to a lot of practices and just be around them and just to see the way they were playing and how they exceeded everyone's expectations. It was just fun to watch, and Final Four made me more excited to watch them next year.
Is it fun from seeing it from an alumni perspective now? There's a little, I think it's one of those, we talk about UConn family and everything, and even us old timers that they come back together and it's a reunion there, and once a
I think that's a really great part, that you get to meet players that play a little bit back in the day, but it's fun, to meet people that started the program of what it's known to be today, and the fact that from the 80s before Coach was there to the 90s to even when I was in middle school or elementary school, and you get to meet players that played there. And so I think that just kind of goes to Coach and CD, the program they've built. And, it really is a family. Once you go there, you're always a part of it, no matter if, like me, 1 year removed or, a few more years removed.
Well, Morgan, we are really looking forward to seeing you in year 2 here with the Connecticut Sun. And most importantly, we're looking forward to seeing you fully healthy for the entire season. So congratulations on great rehab work, but we're looking forward to getting to see you do the real work starting on May 13th against Atlanta.
Thank you very much.
That is Morgan Tuck, second year with the Connecticut Sun, as we continue our coverage here on 2017 Media Day. We move it from a second-year player in Morgan Tuck to the #1 draft pick for the Connecticut Sun joins us. Her name is Brionna Jones. I'm Bob. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
This is Debbie Fisk. Debbie has been following your career. She is she is my broadcast partner. Has watched you play as a college broadcaster
quite
for
a lot, because University of Connecticut, I follow their games.
Yeah, played them a couple times.
Quite a few times in
Yes.
your 4-year career there. Yeah. Absolutely.
But
go ahead.
Brionna Jones is now a first-round draft selection of the Connecticut Sun out of the University of Maryland, and a lot of people in that front office for Connecticut were very excited that you were still sitting there at number 8 for a Connecticut Sun team that can use some help in the front court. How excited were you when you saw your name go up on the board, drafted by this organization?
I was super excited to be able to be called first off, and then to be called by the Connecticut Sun. Talking to Coach Miller, he was talking to him. He sounded really great over the phone, and just being able to play for him, I think it's going to be amazing. And then getting to come back and play with Alyssa again. I played with her for a year at Maryland, so I'm really excited to be able to play with her again.
Yeah, Lynetta Kaiser as well. We were just talking about Morgan Tuck, and Debbie Fisk is a former UConn player. There's that family. There's that family as well, and I'm sure you're going to tap into a lot of what Alyssa Thomas, a former Terp, a former teammate, has to offer. How much of that have you done already?
I've been on the sideline hounding her for questions all through training camp, just trying to learn from her and learn everything I can, and just asking her for help, because I know I don't know everything right now. I'm just trying to take everything one step at a time. And
how challenging has it been? I mean, this is always a challenge for any rookie that goes from college, literally 1 week you're in college and now you're in the pros. What's it been like?
Definitely really challenging. Everything's a lot more fast paced on the court, and just being able to settle down and like set a good screen without moving, but still trying to roll fast and play fast. I think that's the most challenging part. Just trying to still play your game, but still play in the new speed of the game.
You have any favorite players, favorite organization in the WNBA growing up?
Growing up, I think I loved watching Candace Parker play, and just seeing her, how competitive she is on the court, and I think growing up watching her, it's always been like a dream just to play with her or play against her, I think, and playing WNBA. So. And
now you're just a couple of weeks removed, even less than that, of actually being on the floor with her. At the same time, the LA Sparks will be part of the preseason schedule here. Have you contemplated that prospect yet?
No, I'm still trying to get through training camp right now.
How are the muscles feeling?
They're a little tender.
It's no matter how much work you do.
Yeah,
when they actually dig you down in there and get you going on some of those drills.
Yeah, definitely. I think coming in, I thought I was pretty prepared with the workouts that we did. Coming in with my coaches back in Maryland, and then coming here is like a whole nother level, and then I'm using muscles that I didn't use before, so definitely a little sore.
They tell you after a week or two, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully.
You're coming from a basketball family, of course, your sister Stephanie and your brother Jared. I actually had the pleasure of seeing him light up my college team. I was Fairfield and Loyola, and I think he had 24 in that game. Basketball has always been obviously a big part of your family life growing up. What are your first memories, though, of falling in love with this game?
I think my first memories would probably be playing in the backyard with my brothers and sisters and my mom and dad. We had some 3-on-3 games in the backyard a few times. I think it definitely got a little heated, a lot of competitiveness in the family. Nobody wanted to go in the house being the loser, because definitely going to be talked about for the rest of the night. So I think definitely those type of memories with my family, going to the courts, and just I think that was the biggest thing for me, having that link to my family and all the support that I've had since then. I think it's been what's motivated me this far.
Well, it's going to serve you very well, all those competitive battles at the family level, and of course playing in Maryland as you get ready here to become a big part of this Connecticut Sun organization. And we're really pleased to have you on board, and we look forward to doing this many more times during the regular season when we have a little bit more time to talk, because we're moving along now on preseason live stream coverage. We're lining them all up. So, Brionna, it was good to briefly get to know you. We'll look forward to doing it more.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brionna. Brionna Jones, the #1 draft pick of the Connecticut Sun, picked number 8 overall in the Connecticut Sun draft. And as we move it from Brionna Jones to another first-year player, a newcomer with the Connecticut Sun, not new to the league, Jen Hamson is joining Bob and Debbie. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I've seen you play, of course, in this league with the Los Angeles Sparks. You took off last year. Why don't we start with that? What led to the decision to kind of just step back for a year and now re-enter the league?
It just kind of happened. LA didn't really need me on their team, and so I ended up just taking it off, trying to work on my game, and now I'm back.
Now you were in Australia, obviously part of the working on your game process.
Yes.
How did that go? How much better are you as a player for having gone through that?
A lot better. That league is really strong, especially in the post. They have some really good players out there, and so I was able to, fine-tune my offense and be more efficient that way, and work even more on my defense. I love playing defense, so yeah.
Somebody that loves to play defense. You don't hear that a lot. That's not a trait, but that's something that you enjoy.
Me. Yes.
Coach's dream. So is that what you think? What are the things that you think that you will be able to provide to the Connecticut Sun?
Defense, I'm hoping, is one of those things. I tend to be taller, and it's one of my favorite things, so I bring more an intensity to it, I think. And obviously, I'm trying to do what I can for this team, so I'm trying to be offensive as well.
What led to you signing with the Connecticut Sun? Were there other teams who were interested in you? What ultimately led to you being here today?
There are a few other teams interested. I think Connecticut showed the most interest, but I also have been coached by Kurt before. He was in LA when I was there, and so
That's right, yep.
Him and Steve as well, and so I know both of them really well, and so I felt like it was a good opportunity for me.
Kurt Miller, of course, a former assistant under Brian Agler with the Los Angeles Sparks, and Steve Smith out in L.A., now, of course, with the Connecticut Sun as an assistant coach. You began your pro career with the Los Angeles Sparks, but that followed a stellar career at Brigham Young University, where you were a basketball standout and also had another sport that you might have gone down the professional route with. Tell us a little bit about your volleyball career.
Yeah, so like you said, I played both volleyball and basketball, and I was pretty, good at both. We went to the national championship my last year in volleyball. We barely lost. And so, yeah, I honestly had two choices between me. I can't play both professionally, and so I had to pick, and I decided to go with basketball.
Why basketball?
There were a bunch of things that went into it, but I really wanted to see how good I could get at basketball, and I really love it and wanted to try it out.
So, looking back, good decision?
Definitely a good decision.
There are jobs to be won in the front court here with the Connecticut Sun. What do you think you need to do, and what is, unfortunately for everyone in this league, such a short preseason? It's a very small window in which you have an opportunity to prove yourself. What are the things that you in particular need to do to impress this coaching staff?
I think I need to be aggressive offensively, really show that I can finish the ball and score for them, and also rebounding, make sure I grab every ball that I can to give our team more opportunities.
Well, Jen, it's a pleasure getting to meet you here today, and we look forward to doing it many more times during the regular season. Good luck during this training camp.
Thank you.
That is Jen Hamson, first-year member of the Connecticut Sun, joining us as our live coverage of Connecticut Sun Media Day 2017 continues. We are counting it down here to the start of the regular season, which is May the 13th, a Saturday night inside the Mohegan Sun Arena, when the Connecticut Sun opened things up by playing the Atlanta Dream. And we are now pleased to be joined by someone we're really happy to see back inside this arena. She is no stranger to this arena, and just by coming back now becomes the senior member of this organization, Alli Hightower. They refer to you affectionately as Alley Cat around here. Allison Hightower, who has not been around for a few years because of knee difficulties, knee injuries, knee rehabs. You must have just had enough of the rehab part. I can only imagine what is going through your mind right now as you're hopefully feeling really good and ready to be fully up to speed here in your next life as a member of the Sun. How are you feeling right now?
Feeling pretty good. I'm happy to say that I actually feel pretty good.
Bring us back to the last season you played. Refresh my memory. Was that 2014 was your last season here?
2014. And even 2014, I didn't play a full season.
Right.
Because that was the first of the knee issues to come. So.
How many have there been? It must be a painful answer to have to give, but I know you've been dealing with this for so long.
3. So hopefully no more.
Both knees, one knee?
No, just the same knee, left knee. Yeah.
The left knee. And what have been the problems that you've had to overcome?
Well, I had tore my meniscus here, and that was an easy surgery. I just had complications after. And then I went to Israel, and I got hurt over there, and I actually had surgery over there. And that was probably the wrong thing to do because it was a pretty bad surgery. So that was a complication in itself. I had to start all over just from that surgery.
Wow.
And I got a fresh start the next year.
Mentally,
with the
that must have been such a terrible blow for you.
It was. It was pretty depressing, but I'm just thankful I was able to bounce back.
And you've been playing. You were in Israel again this.
Yeah, I was only there for a month.
Okay.
And then I came back. I just felt that I wasn't strong enough, or I came back early and I wasn't ready, and I wanted to make sure that I was 100% before I even started to play again. So I just came back a little too early.
Okay. What kind of feedback have you been getting from Jeremy Norman, the trainer here, and Tim Uhas, the strength and conditioning coach? What have they've been putting you through the tests and the drills? How have they told you you're coming through it?
They really like how I look so far and how strong I've gotten over the past year, and they're just happy and excited that I'm able to feel good right now. So.
Yeah, we're all happy and excited to see you, and you have a new coaching staff here.
Yeah.
Kurt Miller and Nikki Collin and
A lot of new
Steve
faces.
Smith, yep. You need to get used to a new system, a new
Yes.
style of coaching. What are your early impressions of Kurt Miller, your new head coach?
I like his energy. He's holding everybody accountable, and we need to be able to push each other and work hard and be physical and aggressive. So I like that so far, and I'll just continue to learn throughout the training camp and just see how things continue to go. And what kind of communication has there been between you and him leading to the season? The kinds of things that he is expecting from you? What I have to say, he's checked on me a lot throughout the season, and that's like really refreshing to see, and to see that somebody cares. They barely even know you, but they care a lot, and just to be patient with them, and also me being smart and not overdoing things, and just to have an open line of communication with them coming back. So 2014 is your last season here with the Connecticut Sun. Kelly Farris, is that the only player who would have been, correct me or bring me up to date, who else may you have known back from 2014 that is here in 2017? Well, AT came in. That was her rookie year. Oh, okay. I think also Alex. Alex Bentley and Alyssa Thomas were here. Okay. And Shanae, but yeah. So those were the players that. So, but for the most part, you had to reintroduce yourself to everybody.
All right. Well, how about the familiarity with the restaurants here? Is there a favorite you have that you were say, all right, I get to go to this place again?
I haven't.
Maybe nothing fancy.
No, see, I don't eat like that anymore.
Anymore.
Yeah, I've learned that too over the past few years. Different diet.
Amazing what they say about nutrition.
Yeah, yeah.
And they told us that when we were young, right?
They did.
You're still young,
They
but
did.
well, your mama said that, and then we didn't listen.
They did, but when you go through the injuries, you have to find a new way of doing different things to help you recover and come up to speed with everything.
So, what is a game day meal like?
Game day meal? I don't even know yet. I haven't played yet.
Oh, there you go. That's a good point. That's a good point. So, being ready for camp when you're coming in, I'm like, I want to make sure. What are the foods that you're eating for fuel?
Making sure I get a nice breakfast in the morning. So I probably do like a shake because we're here pretty early. Okay. It's kind of hard to eat early, so I do a shake before and also after practice, and then I fuel maybe some chicken breasts, vegetables, some potatoes, like some roasted potatoes on the side, and kind of the same thing at night. Something light, something healthy, a lot of fruit. I love fruit now. You sounded like a professional. How closely have you been able to follow the Connecticut Sun over these last couple of years? I've been following pretty closely. Even last year, I got to see them when they were in Dallas, since Dallas has a new team. And
you're a Texas girl? Yeah,
I live in Arlington, so that was right down the street for me. And I was glad that I was able to catch them and to see, how they've been doing. And they played really well when I saw them.
So you saw them last year. I believe they won that game.
Yeah.
And you saw them as they were beginning the metamorphosis into what became a winning team in the second part of the season. Big part of that, Chinea Gwumike, a fellow Texan, is not around this year. She will be going forward, but this year she's out after the Achilles tendon injury. You look at this Connecticut Sun team, very familiar with the organization. A lot of people are going to say no Chinea. Expectations will be low. Why do you think that this Sun team is going to be able to defy those expectations?
Well, when you talk about Shanae, we're missing an all-star, we're missing a leader, but it's always next man up. So whoever's coming in and, the rookies now and the free agents, all have to be ready to play and to step up and to be in that role. And, there's a lot of talent out there. So when it's your opportunity, just make the most of it and to have it to your advantage. But I really like how the players and, everything is looking so far.
Well, that would be my final question. In these early days of camp, how competitive a camp do you sense it's going to be?
I think it's going to be very competitive, especially in the guard position. I'm sensing that we're kind of all alike in some form, like our games and stuff. So size as well. So I think it'll be very competitive as well as the post. and everybody's trying to make the team and, to get better and to improve on things that we need to improve on every day to help win games.
Well, we wish you nothing but the best of luck in camp. But
Thank you.
Most notably, we're just thrilled to see you back fully healthy. And
feels good.
I can't reach down to the wood. You knock it for me. I hope
Pray.
you don't ever have to worry about that left knee again.
I pray I don't either. It's been a long road, I must say.
Alli Hightower, good seeing you again.
Appreciate it.
Alli Hightower joining us here, Connecticut Sun Media Day. I'm Bob. That is Debbie, and we're now going to be joined by an assistant coach of the Connecticut Sun as Alli hands off the microphone. And we promised you players, we promised you front office executives, and we also promised you coaches. And we are pleased to be joined right now by one of those coaches,
Hey, Bob,
Steve Smith. Good to see you again, Coach. As Steve gets seated and comfortable as we start year 2 of the Kurt Miller regime, and his 2 assistants, Nikki Collin, we heard from her earlier, and Steve Smith are back in the fold. And how much easier, if I can use that word, is year 2 compared to year 1, when everything obviously was new and you were implementing a new system and players had to get used to what you were doing? Things obviously probably just by default a little smoother in that regard this time around.
Yeah, for a coaching staff, it definitely is a little bit more smoother. We're actually being able to get into actions quicker, get into playing quicker, which equates to us evaluating much quicker. So we had a great day of practice today. Coach had them going up and down and competing, and it's already great that we already have certain sets in to see how quickly people pick up things, how quickly the rookies pick up, doing defensive assignments, already getting into defensive schemes. So, last year we got off to a little slow start defensively, but now that the players are able to pick up the schemes a lot quicker, we're going to be a lot further ahead than we were last year.
You mentioned about picking up schemes. So as you're evaluating this team, everybody's so athletic, everybody's talented and can score. Is that something that actually comes into play too, or you're thinking we could be 3 months in and they're still going to have difficulty reading that sign?
Well, absolutely. I mean, because, I don't want to say it's a copycat league, but you have talent on every team. And one way you play one team, you might play a different team a different way. Right. And so it's important that you have players that are able to pick up things quickly and it translate immediately. Okay. Because that's the difference in winning or losing a game.
Right. Following a scouting report or following a game plan.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Just 3 days of practices into this preseason, which is a very short preseason. Jobs are there to be won. Your sense of how competitive this camp is going to be as players do fight for some of those jobs. You have 18 players in camp. Obviously, not all 18 will be here by the time we roll into May 13th. How do you sense the competition level so far?
Well, I've had the pleasure of being in many training camps, and this is unlike any other. It is very competitive. As you know, this is the best women's league in the world for basketball. And unfortunately, there's a lot of young ladies out there that could be in this league. And because of that, players don't want to lose jobs. And new players that are coming in that are hungry want to gain jobs. So it gets very competitive. But what we have that's special here is that all of the players are high character kids. They come in, they work hard, they do what Coach Miller has asked of them, and it's always going to be a tough decision. I mean, it's always a tough decision, that final 12. So,
who are the very early, and I mean early, season surprises for you? You've watched these practices 3 days in. Anything stand out? Anything jump out at you?
Well, it's too early to tell. Today was the first day we really got up and down, so the players haven't had much time yet to separate themselves from each other. But all of them have had bright spots. I mean, Brionna Jones has gotten some rebounds out of her area, has shown some athleticism, some quickness that we knew that was there. Jessica January has done a great job of coming off the screen roll, under control, getting into gaps. Today, Jen Hamson had one of those Brittany Griner blocks. We had a player in the corner that was shooting a shot. She came out from the low block and actually blocked it. So the rookies are doing well. And Rashonda Gray, she's a veteran in this league. She hits the offensive glass, we know what we're going to get with her. You're going to get high motor, high energy. So they all have had bright spots. But, you know, it's going to take the rest of camp to see who's going to separate themselves. Shayla Cooper has done some good, nice things. So the young players, the new players coming in, that has been an adjustment for them, learning schemes and all that stuff. They're picking it up pretty quickly.
We'll ask Kurt Miller this question, but I want to ask you as well, because you obviously have a great feel for the locker room and the players involved. Shanae Agwumike is a big loss on the court, but also a big loss as far as her leadership and her personality was concerned. Do you see any players in particular who, I know you can't fill that void entirely, but who might step up into that role of being that personality, that leader on the team, that person who gets in front of things?
Well, Shanae is definitely, it's the best word I can put it. She's a ray of sunshine.
Yeah.
You know, she is always upbeat. She's bright. She wants to go and talk with everybody. And that is something that we will sorely miss. However, our leadership on this team is fantastic. Jasmine Thomas, Alyssa Thomas, Alex Bentley, the veterans that have come back are ready to be the leaders and the voice of the team, and they're doing a phenomenal job.
What are the things that you like to do when you're not coaching the Connecticut Sun? Now, you've been around, and you can tell us if you want a little bit about your professional background. You've been a high school coach, college coach, and a professional coach.
Right.
But what are the things you like to do when you're not coaching basketball?
When I'm not coaching basketball, I grew up in a gospel choir, so I love to play the piano and sing. I love cooking. I was brought up by a grandmother and a mother from the South.
Wow.
So I love cooking. And I love going to the movies.
Are you going with the team tonight? I heard.
Not going with the team tonight.
Don't want to do that one.
You know, I'm sure they don't. They get tired. Yeah, exactly. They want to have some time away from us.
For sure.
Any movie recommendations for us of recent vintage?
You know,
or all-time favorites.
All-time favorites. I mean, I love Remember the Titans.
Okay, sure.
I love that movie. Denzel in that movie was awesome.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
And another one, Cuba Gooding was in it. Gosh, Men of Honor.
Oh, yes.
That was a good one.
Are you going to give the old, you got to give the basketball one, the Hoosiers.
Hoosiers is, I've probably showed that to about 5 of my high school teams. and what was interesting is they didn't know Indiana basketball, the history of basketball, and but that was just such a great movie. Yes, that is an all-time classic.
Just being a basketball coach in your history, I figure you had to have,
Absolutely.
Have that in your repertoire of
Absolutely.
favorites.
And you're a California guy, right?
Yes.
And Los Angeles is where you coached at the high school level,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
A little bit about your success. You don't need to be modest. I know you've had a lot of success both with the boys and girls, right?
Right. I was athletic director and boys and girls basketball coach at Windward School of Los Angeles. I had the pleasure of building a program, and then all of a sudden I started getting a lot of talent, of which one of the young ladies is in the WNBA, which is Imani Boyette.
Sure.
Our team went from ranking of 1,000 whatever in the United States to as highly ranked as number 3 in the country. But I had Jordan Canada, Kristen Simon. Jordan Canada will be one of the top point guards in the draft next year from UCLA. Kristen Simon's a top post player at USC. Then I flipped over to the boys' side and got to coach Shaq's son, Sharif O'Neal, who just committed with Arizona. Roman Davis, who's at University of Cal. I've just been blessed. Jules Bernard, who's a rising junior right now that has about 20 scholarship offers, Stanford, Kansas. But great kids, high character kids, high GPA kids. And, I've just been blessed. I mean, my overall record, I think, was 309 and 304 and 90.
That works.
Out of 14 seasons. We won 12 league championships and came in second twice. And we won 3 CIF titles and 1 state title.
So West Coast to East Coast.
West Coast to East Coast.
What do you think?
I love the East Coast, to be honest with you. When I was back in my day when I thought I was good enough to be a player, but I really wasn't, I played in the Baker League in Philadelphia.
Did you?
And I was in the same backcourt as Pooh Richardson.
No way.
And the East Coast basketball was a lot more physical.
Yeah.
And they didn't like West Coast players too much, but it was a lot of
A
fun.
lot more like slash, flash, and.
Yes, we were a little bit, we weren't as physical. It was very physical out here, but had a great time at the Baker League.
And how did you make your connection with Kurt Miller? How did that relationship come about? How did you end up as part of his coaching staff?
Well, over the past 6 or 7 years, I've either volunteered or coached with the LA Sparks. And so I've always been a part of the LA Sparks organization. So when Brian Agler came in, I knew of Brian, and he brought in his staff of Amber Stocks and Kurt Miller, and Penny Toller still had me coaching over there as a third assistant coach, and that's where we got to meet and really form a bond and friendship, and that's led me to have this opportunity to come out here and coach with him in Connecticut.
Amber Stocks now a head coach in this
yes,
league.
Yes, she is.
It's a small network, isn't it?
It's a small network, and she's going to do a great job.
And you've been a big part of the WNBA now for, as you said, a long time. You're second year here with the Connecticut Sun,
Right.
but your association with the Sparks goes back quite a long way, doesn't it?
Yes, I coached with the Sparks in 2 different stints, 1998 with Orlando Woolrich, and then during Michael Cooper's tenure, I coached about 3 years with him. I coached with Jen Gillum with the LA Sparks. Unfortunately, when Coach Penny Toller had to come and coach the Sparks, I then came back on the bench and was her assistant. Coached with Cheryl Miller with the Phoenix Mercury in the first year of the WNBA, and coached with Nancy Lieberman in Detroit for 3 years.
Wow, so many personalities, many different types, philosophies.
Yes.
Do you feel you've kind of a little bit of everything in there? And you always say the sport is one of those that you constantly are learning.
You're constantly learning, and I've had the pleasure of coaching with many different head coaches where you can take a little bit from here, a little bit from there. It's just like cooking. As you're putting in your extra spices and stuff like that, you want it to taste just right. Well, you also want your basketball to fit your personality, but you're also going to take a little bit from everybody else to develop your own brand.
Right.
And as someone who goes back to year one of the WNBA, they just celebrated their 20th anniversary season last year. This is year 15 season-wise for the Connecticut Sun. Are you as amazed as many others as to where this league is at today? It continues to thrive. The players obviously are exponentially better. They were great then, but now you're looking at a different kind of athlete. Your thoughts on where the league has come from year one when you go back to then and where we are right now?
Well, the WNBA has done a tremendous job of marketing this league, not only here in the United States, but globally. And that has a lot to do with a lot of these young ladies' skill sets also improving all over the world, actually.
That's a good point.
We still, USA still is dominant and winning our gold medals, but it's getting harder and harder to do so. And, just like in any pro league, after year 20, after it's established, that's when you start to see, the benefits of the hard work of the first 20 years. The NBA wasn't where it was in its first 20 years. My father was drafted in the NBA for the Milwaukee Bucks, but back in those days, the players had other jobs,
Right.
and those players were riding the trains to the stadiums and stuff like that. So it takes some time. And I remember year one, we had practice players in the WNBA that made $7,000 for the summer. Our lowest salary in that first year of year one was $10,000 for a European player to come over and make just $10,000 for the summer. I think our top salary was $40,000 or something like that. And so that has gotten better.
Yeah, $40,000 per diem, I think, now over the course of the season.
But everything is getting better.
Yeah.
And it's just a great product. And I'm a father of 3 daughters, and I couldn't be prouder of being in an organization that really promotes strong women.
Final thing, Steve. This has been a theme throughout this media day when we've talked to players and everybody else. The expectations for this team from the outside are going to be no Chineye Egwuemeke. That's how they're going to look at it. No Chineye Egwuemeke. There's going to be a drop-off for a team that obviously was great at the end of last year, but now we take a Guamike out of the equation, so they're going to say, look, the expectations, the bar is set low. We on the inside know better, but I'd like you to put it into words. Why do you feel this Connecticut Sun team this season can exceed expectations?
Well, when you look at anything on paper, it's easy to analyze and come up with those types of analogies, solutions that, on paper, this team might look better than this, but we all know basketball is not won on paper, it's won on the court.
Absolutely.
And we have the youthful exuberance of youthful experienced players that are hungry, and the way that Coach Miller coaches and his teams play, they come and play with a lot of energy. And if the team that plays the hardest, the smartest, and the fastest puts themselves in a position to have success at the end of the game. So that's what we're looking forward to, is being in position to win those games, stay in games, and hopefully be able to take advantage of those opportunities at the end of the game.
Well, we saw it up close and in person last year when you won 8 of your last 12, 3 straight to end the season. I have a feeling that you're going to pick it right up where you left off, and we're looking forward to year 2 with you on the bench with the Connecticut Sun. Thanks for spending some time with us here today.
Thank you. Have a great day.
That is Steve Smith, assistant coach of the Connecticut Sun. I'm Bob Husler, along with Debbie Fisk. In fact, I think that is going to, you can stick with us because we're going to wrap this thing up right now. It has, let's see.
No, right?
Whoa. We actually went longer than I thought we would go. It was supposed to be a 2-hour show. We turned it into a 2.5-hour show. So it is time to put a wrap on things here for the Connecticut Sun Media Day 2017. It's been a lot of fun doing this. This is another first. The Connecticut Sun YouTube channel, streaming live, Connecticut Media Day. I'm sure this is going to be something we do going forward from here on out. But now we get down to the real deal. Connecticut Sun will play preseason games on May 2nd and May 3rd here inside the Connecticut Sun, Mohegan Sun Arena. And then we do it for real 2 weeks from Saturday night, May 13th, when the Connecticut Sun open the new year by playing the Atlanta Dream. So the real season is right around the corner. Until then, make sure you stay on top of things by checking things out on ConnecticutSun.com. I know they do a tremendous job now on social media with keeping you up to date. And of course, as part of Media Day, the media did their jobs. There'll be a lot of stories written, a lot of television and radio reports about what is going on this preseason for the Connecticut Sun. And then we start it all for real on May 13th here inside the Mohegan Sun Arena. So, for Debbie Fisk and for Steve Smith, I am Bob Husler. Thanks for joining us this season for Connecticut Sun Media Day. We look forward to seeing you right here in person when we start the 2017 season, the Sun and the Atlanta Dream, here on opening night, May 13th. Have a very good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.